I don't need a reward. I only ask for your permission, Master, to end someone's life with my own two hands. Venerable Heart, Bane replied with casual indifference. Who? Wei Wuji? Fang Chen's voice dropped to a chilling whisper. Venerable Heart, Bane let out a dark chuckle, and here I thought it was someone who actually mattered. Squashing an insignificant bug requires no permission from me. A chill ran down Fang Chen's spine. Wei Wuji had bent over backward, serving Venerable Heart, Bane with absolute loyalty. Yet the moment he outlived his usefulness, he was tossed aside like trash. It was a terrifying glimpse into the Venerable's ruthless, ice-cold nature. Thank you, Master. Venerable Heart, Bane mused for a moment before producing an armband. You'll be ascending the sky, touching black pillars shortly. Take this armband. If you cross paths with ancient giants you cannot defeat, throw this at them. Even ancient giants at the deity transformation realm will be ensnared for 10 breaths of time, buying you enough time to escape. It could even lock down ancient giants at the deity transformation realm. A gift bestowed by a Venerable was truly on a whole different level. Catching it eagerly, he bowed. Many thanks, Master. Good, I shall take my leave, Venerable Heart, Bane said. Once you return, do not forget to track down Wang Chengsu for me. Fang Chen offered a respectful cupped fist salute. Yes, Master. Watching Venerable Heart, Bane depart, Fang Chen gripped the armband, a dark amusement bubbling in his chest. I wonder, the day you finally realize I'm the true master of the void, Flow Lightning Force, will you be so pissed that you'll use this very arm, band to smack yourself in the face. Stowing the armband away, Fang Chen scanned his surroundings, but Wei Wuji was nowhere to be found. The moment Fang Chen had cleared his own name, that coward had already tucked his tail and fled. Hey, Gu Zinner's voice suddenly called out from the ground below. Glancing down, he spotted her huddled in the corner of a courtyard. She was poking half her head out, her large, round eyes darting around as she sneakily waved Fang Chen over. Fang Chen touched down lightly, giving her a skeptical look. What are you doing, practicing to be a cat burglar? Gu Zinner rolled her eyes at him and yanked him straight into the courtyard. It was only then that Fang Chen noticed the tightly bound figure lying on the ground. The man's hands and feet were completely immobilized, a dirty rag shoved into his mouth. The moment he saw Fang Chen, his eyes bulged with panic, and he began wriggling across the dirt like a desperate worm. Squinting for a closer look, it was none other than Wei Wuji. You ungrateful jerk, I do you a massive favor, and you call me a burglar, Gu Zinner huffed, crossing her arms. Realizing his mistake, Fang Chen immediately softened his tone. My bad. I didn't expect you to play bounty hunter and catch Wei Wuji for me. How about I make it up to you with a gift? Gu Zinner tilted her chin up defiantly, keeping her arms crossed. No way, you're just heartless, and I'm definitely holding this grudge against you. Fang Chen rubbed his nose awkwardly. He knew all too well that an angry woman was harder to wrangle than a greased pig at a summer festival, next to impossible to smooth over. Suddenly, his gaze dropped to her chest, which she was subtly trying to push up to look more prominent. A playful glint flashed in his eyes. You know, they look a bit bigger than before. Might be more than a handful now. Gu Zinner's face instantly went beet red. Flushing with embarrassment, she frantically looked around. Are you trying to get yourself killed? She squeaked. But beneath her mask, the corners of her lips curled up uncontrollably. All that effort hunting down spiritual elixirs and miraculous medicines, not to mention choking down countless papayas, was it finally paying off? Fang Chen merely shrugged. Hey, I'm just stating facts. Gu Zinner felt a surge of secret delight, though she kept up her grumbling facade. You haven't even touched them, so how would you know they got bigger? The second the words left her mouth, she realized her colossal blunder. Her face burned crimson. Mortified, she swung her little fists and lightly smacked Fang Chen's chest. Pervert, I'm ignoring you. With that, she spun on her heels and bolted away in utter embarrassment. Fang Chen rubbed his shoulder, utterly exasperated. You're the one who stuck your foot in your mouth, yet I'm the one getting beat up. Not like I was offering to take your measurements anyway. With that out of the way, his gaze shifted back to Wei Wuji, who had managed to worm his way to the courtyard gate. A frosty murderous intent flashed in Fang Chen's eyes. He strode over, planted his boot firmly on the man's chest, and ripped the gag from his mouth. Do we really have that much bad blood between us? Fang Chen demanded coldly. He genuinely couldn't wrap his head around it, since when had their feud escalated to this extreme? Bringing Venerable Heart, Bane, to the heavenly secrets pavilion. Egging the madman on with a better to kill an innocent than let a suspect go mentality. That kind of viciousness was usually reserved for a blood feud. You stole my woman, Wei Wuji roared. If that isn't a blood feud, what is? Heh, a look of utter disgust crossed Fang Chen's face. Your woman? You mean the woman you deliberately framed, nearly costing her the entire East Sea? Actually, never mind. It was a stupid question on my part. A snake like you doesn't need a logical reason to bite someone. He summoned his purple sword, raising the gleaming blade high into the air. Wait, you can't kill me. Wei Wuji shrieked in panic. Without me putting in a good word, the East Sea's mother origin cauldron will inevitably be stolen by the myriad phenomena, void world. If you actually care about the Pearl Demon Empress, you'd better let me walk away. Fang Chen stared at him with dead, indifferent eyes. Is that really your final trump card? Then let me save you the trouble. I've already convinced your realm lord to back off from the mother origin cauldron. We don't need your help. Wei Wuji spat out a bitter laugh. Are you out of your mind? Even I barely get an audience with the realm lord. Who the hell do you think you are, making our realm lord? The words died in his throat. Fang Chen casually pulled out the realm lord's pagoda. It was an artifact that could only be acquired directly from the realm lord's own hands. There was no other way to possess it. Just because you're a nobody, Fang Chen said softly, doesn't mean I am. The sword came down in a vicious arc, thwack. His head was cleanly severed from his neck. A shrieking soul, clutching a spatial storage artifact, immediately tore itself from the corpse, frantically trying to escape into the void. But before it could flee, a string of Buddhist prayer beads shot out, wrapping tightly around the phantom. Wei Wuji's spirit writhed in absolute terror. Fang Chen, I wasn't thinking straight. I let greed blind me. Please, just give me one chance to turn over a new leaf. Fang Chen retrieved the Fate-Reversing Jade Plate, his expression devoid of pity. Back in the East Sea, when I spared you from being cleaved in half right in front of the Pearl Demon Empress, that was your chance. And instead of changing your ways, you doubled down on your treachery. Rest in peace. With a ruthless shove, he forced the screaming soul straight into the Fate-Reversing Jade Plate. Emitting a final, agonizing shriek of despair, Wei Wuji's soul flared up, illuminating a single notch on the artifact. Without missing a beat, Fang Chen flicked his fingers, unleashing 2 sparks of netherworld ghost fire that instantly incinerated the severed head and corpse to ash. Beep, beep, beep. Right on cue, his Heavenly Secrets Pavilion identity token began to chime. An overarching broadcast from the Directorate of Astronomy echoed out attention, personnel of all sects, please converge at the sky-touching black pillar immediately. Knowing he couldn't afford to waste another second, Fang Chen blurred into motion, darting straight toward the sky-touching black pillar. Meanwhile, outside the gates of the White Horse Temple, Baeksin stood clad in the Directorate of Astronomy's signature moon, white soft armor bodysuit. Her dark, flowing hair was elegantly swept up and secured with a single jade hairpin, save for 2 delicate strands framing her face. Cascading down her porcelain neck, she bore an ancient treasured sword strapped to her back, and a delicate, compact yellow bell rested at her waist. Her combat attire was clean and practical, yet it did nothing to hide the stunning, hourglass curves of her figure, nor could it mask her breathtaking beauty. Standing amidst the bustling crowd, she was like a luminous pearl gleaming in the dark, radiating an undeniable brilliance that effortlessly commanded the attention of everyone around her. Senior Brother Zong, I can't believe the Directorate of Astronomy sent 1,000, Man Commander Bai Xin. She's not just powerful, she's incredibly principled. She's the perfect teammate for this. Why don't you step up and invite her to join us, Senior Brother Zong? Zong Chaosheng and a group of young elites had gathered together. Like many others, their eyes were fixed on Baeksin, hoping to convince her to join their squad. Zong Chaosheng gazed at Baeksin's stunning, elegant features. Baeksin has always been a lone wolf. She's already shot down several invitations. If I go over there, the result will probably be the same. A teammate nearby flattered him. That was them. Who could possibly say no to an invitation from you, Senior Brother Zong? Zong Chaosheng smirked. Fair point. This journey is going to be hell. Baeksin is probably looking for a teammate she can actually rely on. And in this crowd, is there anyone more dependable than the 18 scions of Taekang? Besides, he held a trump card in his hand that absolutely no one could refuse. Suddenly, waves of surprised gasps erupted from the crowd. Fang Chen, it's Fang Chen. Zong Chaosheng turned at the sound of the name. When Fang Chen came into view, he couldn't help but scowl. The companions around him wore expressions of pure disdain. Is that the same Fang Chen from the ancient road to heaven? I didn't realize he was so well connected. Look at how many people actually know him. He's just riding the hype of being #1 on the ancient road to heaven. If that path hadn't been restricted to the core formation realm, he wouldn't be anything. Senior Brother Zong would have taken that title easily. Senior Brother Zong, weren't you curious about what happened on the road? Should we call him over and demand some answers? In their eyes, the 18 scions of taking, even acknowledging Fang Chen, was an act of extreme grace, a top-tier talent slumming it with a commoner. Zong Chaosheng said coldly, "If I want to know something, do I really need to ask him? I'll just put the word out and someone will come crawling to tell me everything." He glanced sideways at Fang Chen, a flicker of irritation in his eyes. Clearly, he was still bitter that a kid from the mainland had managed to catch up to his rank as one of the 18 scions of Taikang on the slaughtering steel. Fang Chen was completely oblivious to the drama. The moment he landed, Adept Sanqian walked straight up to him. He pulled out a sealed orb of Thunder Force and said, "You're about to ascend the sky-touching black pillar. We can talk about the martial Dao some other time. Here, take this Thunder Force as a gift." Fang Chen cupped his fists in a grateful salute. He had possessed the heart of the heavenly abyss for a while now, but his cultivation had stalled because he lacked a new source of Thunder Force. This gift was a total lifesaver, exactly what he needed. The heart of the heavenly abyss allowed him to store infinite Thunder Force, meaning he'd never again face the embarrassment of being totally drained after a single indestructible blade strike. Actually, it wasn't just being drained, it was a total power burnout. With the heart of the heavenly abyss, he was finally going to be a powerhouse, saying goodbye to being a one-hit wonder. "Thanks, who is the sanctuary of myriad tribulations? Sending up. Do you want to team up with me?" His current strength was on par with a 7-aperture Nascent Soul, making him a formidable ally. It's me," a timid voice whispered from behind Adept Sanqian. That voice sounded incredibly familiar. He stepped around Adept Sanqian and focused his gaze. It was a woman dressed in white palace robes. She kept her head down, too guilty to even meet Fang Chen's eyes. "Oh, it's you." Fang Chen laughed in pure annoyance. "If you hadn't shown up, I was going to march straight to the sanctuary of myriad tribulations to collect your debt." Adept Sanqian froze, looking at Song Ling Yu in utter shock. "Collect a debt? What is he talking about?" Song Ling Yu looked awkward, her face turning red. Haha, don't get the wrong idea. It's just I owe him a tiny favor." Before another word could be said, she grabbed Fang Chen and dragged him to the side. Her cheeks were burning. "Kid, give me some credit. Save a little face for me in front of everyone." If she had known Fang Chen would be here, she wouldn't have taken this mission for anything in the world. If her fellow disciples found out she was a total deadbeat, she'd rather just die of embarrassment right then and there. Fang Chen lowered his voice, sounding unimpressed. "You're a high and mighty 8-aperture Nascent Soul from the sanctuary of myriad tribulations, and you're acting like a common deadbeat, and you don't want people to talk." Song Ling Yu practically begged him, "I'm working my tail off to earn heaven, soaring pills to pay you back, aren't I? The Palace Lord promised me 1 heaven, soaring pill just for accepting the mission. If I do well, I get 2. And if I make the top 3, I get a bonus of 4 more. Just give me a little more time, I'm begging you." She pressed her hands together, bowing repeatedly in a desperate apology. Fang Chen's expression softened slightly. "Since you're working off your debt, I'll give you a few more days." Looking at Song Ling Yu in those shackles, he raised an eyebrow. "The sanctuary of myriad tribulations is actually letting you out. Aren't they afraid you'll snap and slaughter your own people?" Song Ling Yu replied, "Not likely. When I lose it, I just get depressed. I'm not the type to hurt anyone. Besides, I'm still bound by these shackles. The Dharma artifact is with someone I trust. If I go crazy, they'll just restrain me and bring me back." Depressed, well, that was harmless enough. He rubbed his chin, his gaze shifting. "And did you find someone you actually trust?" If they had an 8-aperture Nascent Soul accompanying them, the journey would undoubtedly be much safer. He just wasn't sure if the Dharma artifact had already been handed over to someone else. Song Ling Yu gestured with a tilt of her head toward Zong Chaosheng in the distance. "Who's that?" Fang Chen asked, looking confused. Song Ling Yu said, "You don't know Zong Chaosheng. He's the top genius of the Godspeed sect's younger generation." The Godspeed sect. Fang Chen's eyes turned ice, cold in an instant. He hadn't forgotten the atrocities the Godspeed sect committed across the continent while searching for the tomb of the great sage Tu Feng. Many Yao clan tribes had been wiped out, and more than half of the Spirit Beast sect's members had perished. That was the only reason Gong Kei chose to stay and look after the Spirit Beast sect. Otherwise, she would have been by his side like Yu Mingzhu. Now that he was seeing someone from the Godspeed sect again, how could he possibly have a good impression? If anyone else had taken Song Ling Yu's Dharma artifact first, he wouldn't have fought them for it. But if it was the Godspeed sect, that was a different story. Why does the Sanctuary of Myriad Tribulations trust the Godspeed sect so much? Fang Chen asked. Song Lingyu shook her head. It's not about trusting the Godspeed sect. It's about trusting his status as one of the 18 Scions of Taking. The 18 Scions of Taking was a prestigious title for the elite leaders of the Taking Grand Province. With such a reputation, their every move was under scrutiny. They wouldn't easily do anything despicable. Among those assigned to this mission, he was actually a decent choice. It was obvious that Song Lingyu couldn't fully vouch for Zong Chaosheng's character, either she was simply putting her faith in his public image. Fang Chen crossed his arms, with everyone watching. Of course he won't do anything to you. But what if you're alone? What if the two of you run into some unpredictable danger? I've seen disciples from major sects sacrifice an Nine-Aperture Nascent Soul from their own ranks just to save their own skins. Song Lingyu's brow furrowed. She had clearly considered this possibility, but thought the odds were too slim to matter. Fang Chen patted her shoulder and gave a playful smirk. Instead of trusting him, you might as well trust me. Song Lingyu looked at him with pure disdain. You're a little black market crook who scammed me out of several times the price for those soaring pills. You think I'd give you the controller? You'd probably sell me to the ancient giants the moment I turned my back. Fang Chen laughed. You're forgetting my role here. I'm your debt collector. In this entire world, I'm the one person who's most terrified of you dying. Song Lingyu's eyes brightened. Honestly, he had a point. If she died, Fang Chen could kiss his money goodbye. Even her own parents probably didn't care about her safety as much as he did right now. Leaving herself in Fang Chen's hands was actually a very safe bet. But then she looked conflicted. But the Dharma artifact has already been given to him. It wouldn't be right to ask for it back now, would it? Fang Chen shrugged. That's your choice. What's more important, your pride or your life? Besides, you're already a deadbeat. Why start caring about your reputation now? Song Lingyu glared at him. The words were harsh, but the logic was sound. If she could handle being a deadbeat, losing a little face was nothing. Give me a minute. I need to come up with a good excuse first. She returned to Adept Sankian's side and began discussing it with several other disciples from the Sanctuary of Myriad Tribulations. Fang Chen waited patiently. He was definitely going to poach this asset from the Godspeed sect. As they were deliberating, a sudden commotion broke out in the crowd. A group of people had approached Baeksin, inviting her to join their team. The group was led by Reverend Quni of Mount Sanking, a powerful 7-Aperture Nascent Soul expert. Last time, he had led 2 8-Aperture Nascent Soul Masters to the East Sea to hunt ancient giants. In the end, only he made it back. The 2 masters had perished mysteriously. The high-ranking elders of Mount Sanking were quite displeased with him, which was why he was sent on this dangerous mission to redeem himself. The pull of such a powerful expert was naturally immense, and over a dozen masters from various sects had already joined his ranks. Together, they extended an invitation to Bakes, in Commander Bai. This mission is incredibly dangerous. Going it alone is a death wish. Why not join us instead? Reverend Quni extended a heartfelt invitation. Beyond her integrity and reliability, what truly set Bakes apart was her connection to the Directorate of Astronomy. In fact, this whole operation was initiated by them. She probably had inside information about the sky-touching black pillar. Teaming up with her would guarantee a bigger score. I've already chosen my partner. My apologies, Baeksin replied, her expression calm as she declined. Reverend Quni pressed on, unwilling to take no for an answer. And who might that be? Surely there isn't a team here more powerful than ours. Growing tired of his persistence, Baeksin's gaze swept across the crowd. Her eyes flickered for a moment when she spotted Fang Chen, and she immediately started walking toward him. All eyes followed her, eager to see who the highly coveted Baeksin, the one everyone was fighting to team up with, would ultimately choose. Their gaze first landed on Zong Chaosheng, and a wave of understanding washed over them. Of course, it's him. After all, Zong Chaosheng was a 7-Aperture Nascent Soul, and one of the 18 Scions of Taking. With a solid reputation, he was a far more suitable choice than Reverend Quni. Everyone knew about Mount Sanking's reputation, and it wasn't a good one. A smile played on Zong Chaosheng's lips as his own team members murmured in admiration. That's our senior brother Zong for you. Baeksin is coming right to him. When you're at the top, the best come to you. Exceptional people never lack for admirers. Zong Chaosheng's smile widened, a surge of pride swelling in his chest. To have a woman as famously impartial and beautiful as Baeksin single him out, it was undeniable proof of his own charisma. He stood his ground, waiting for Baeksin to approach him. But his expression froze when Baeksin walked right past his group and stopped directly in front of Fang Chen. "How many on your team?" she asked. Fang Chen was caught off guard. He suddenly realized she had been waiting for him all along. "None at the moment," Fang Chen replied. Baeksin gave a slight nod. "You're with me?" Fang Chen wasn't about to refuse. He opened his mouth to agree. But Zong Chaosheng and his entourage strode over. He shot Fang Chen a scowl. "What do you think you're doing?" Then he turned to Baeksin. "Commander Bai, you should still come with us. We have no idea what we'll face on the sky-touching black pillar. You'll be safer with our group." Baeksin shook her head. "Fang Chen is all the company I need. You can go on your own." Zong Chaosheng didn't get it. What was so special about this Fang Chen? Even if he came in first on the ancient road to heaven, he could hardly help Baeksin. If anything, he'd just be dead weight. Unwilling to concede, he played his next card. "Commander Bai, to be honest, we have a powerful senior expert traveling with us. With her on our side, our success is guaranteed." Forced to reveal his trump card, he carefully retrieved a Dharma artifact from within his robes. He announced, "Senior Song Lingyu from the Sanctuary of Myriad Tribulations has agreed to join us. With her, we'll have nothing to fear." Seeing Baeksin was still about to refuse, he gritted his teeth and added reluctantly, "If it comes to it, as a favor to you, Commander Bai, we can let Fang Chen join us too." Baeksin paused to consider, then looked to Fang Chen, leaving the decision to him. Song Lingyu was an 8-aperture Nascent Soul. She could protect Fang Chen far better than Baeksin could. Before Fang Chen could answer, Song Lingyu walked over, looking slightly awkward. "Zong Chaosheng, where's the Dharma artifact for my shackles?" Zong Chaosheng quickly and respectfully handed it over. "Right here, this junior will keep it safe." Song Lingyu took it from him with a brilliant smile. "Actually, I won't trouble you with it. I found someone else to hold onto it for me. Here, Fang Chen, catch." With a flick of her wrist, she tossed it to him. Fang Chen caught it with both hands and casually tucked it into his robes. He turned to Baeksin. "You don't mind one more teammate, do you, Commander Bai?" Baeksin's gaze darted between Fang Chen and Song Lingyu. Incredible, she thought. He actually poached Zong Chaosheng's key player, and he made it look easy. To get her to demand back a Dharma artifact that was already in Zong Chaosheng's possession, had Fang Chen fed her some kind of love potion. Zong Chaosheng was stunned. He stammered in disbelief. "Senior Song, what is the meaning of this? You're going back on your word." Song Lingyu looked mortified, lowering her voice. "It's not that I'm breaking my promise. I'm a victim here, too. Adept Sankian owes Fang Chen a massive favor and has been dodging him like a deadbeat. He had no choice but to sell my contract to Fang Chen to settle the debt." Zong Chaosheng wasn't buying it, as if Song Lingyu would let someone else decide her fate. It was obvious she'd been brainwashed by Fang Chen and was just making up excuses to take back the Dharma artifact. He shot an infuriated glare at Fang Chen. "You've got a lot of nerve." Fang Chen just shrugged. "Thank you." Zong Chaosheng's eyes narrowed, anger simmering. This guy acted as if he didn't even exist. It was bad enough that he stole the spotlight at the Giant family's estate, but now he was stealing his allies right out from under him. Unbelievable. Amichuofo, it is better to settle a grudge than to let it fester. Vajraphayan approached with a smile, his invisible Buddhist power washing away the malice in Zong Chaosheng's eyes. Standing beside Fang Chen, he said, "Patron Fang, the Bodhisattva has directed me to accompany you." "What?" The crowd gasped in shock. The Bodhisattva had actually assigned Vajraphayan to stay by Fang Chen's side. Was this his way of offering the boy protection? Zong Chaosheng was equally baffled. Who exactly was this Fang Chen? And why was the Bodhisattva giving him such special treatment? He glanced at Vajraphayan, then toward the White Horse Temple. Even with his status as one of the 18 scions of Taking, he didn't dare cause trouble here. "Then I wish you the best of luck." He shot Fang Chen a final glare and stormed off with a cold huff. Right then, the sky suddenly plunged into darkness. It wasn't that clouds had blocked the sun itself was rapidly dimming. In seconds, the light became as faint as a crescent moon, and the world was swallowed by shadows. Fang Chen's eyes narrowed at the sudden, strange phenomenon. Was this a Venerable's domain? He doubted anyone could actually control the sun in the 9 heavens, warping day into night so easily. The only logical explanation was that their perception was being manipulated by an invisible force. Baeksin nodded slightly. The Grand Libationer has arrived. Realization dawned on Fang Chen. The leader of the most mysterious organization in the Taking Grand Province was indeed a Venerable. If the Grand Libationer didn't have the power to suppress everything, why would the various sects of the Take-in Grand Province ever listen to him? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, pinpricks of starlight began to flicker in the darkness. They streaked down like falling stars, stopping precisely in front of each of the 100 Nascent Soul experts chosen for the scouting mission. Fang Chen reached out and caught the one before him. It was a shimmering spatial mark, pulsing with spatial power. A quick look around confirmed that everyone else had received the exact same thing. This is a spatial mark. Refine it in your mind. No matter how far you travel up the sky-touching black pillar, you can return to its base with just a single thought. An ethereal voice echoed through the darkness. The crowd realized what this was a lifeline. If any scout faced danger, they could use the mark to teleport back to the sky, touching black pillar immediately. No wonder the Directorate of Astronomy was sending so many experts despite the risks. They had a massive insurance policy. The Nascent Soul experts finally felt their nerves steady. Furthermore, it will record your every movement on the sky-touching black pillar, tracking your merits and achievements. The rewards are as promised. The top 3 will receive immense prizes. Even if you don't place, you'll still earn 3 bottles of Hunyuan 9, colored marrow. Any questions? The scouts traded looks. In the presence of a Venerable, most lacked the courage to even breathe loudly, let alone speak. Fang Chen, however, gripped his mark and spoke up. I have 2 questions. If the sky-touching black pillar moves after we've climbed it, will the spatial seals still work? That question made everyone's heart skip a beat. They had almost forgotten that the sky-touching black pillar wasn't fixed in place. This one had drifted across the ocean to reach the White Horse Temple. If the pillar moved and they tried to teleport back, where exactly would they end up? Do not worry, the mark is anchored to the sky-touching black pillar itself. No matter where it drifts, the mark will bring you back to it. The Grand Libationer's answer provided a much-needed wave of relief. Fang Chen asked his second question. Does this mark guarantee a 100% chance of escape when in danger? The Grand Libationer was silent for several seconds, seemingly reluctant to answer. Finally, his voice drifted through the dark again. You can escape even a Giant King, provided you do not encounter a Wind Giant King or a Space Giant King. The former is fast enough to rival spatial teleportation, and the latter can lock down spatial teleportation entirely. The area fell dead silent. The confidence they had just gained evaporated instantly. Fang Chen's expression darkened. This was exactly what he'd been worried about. Spatial escapes weren't a universal solution. When Wu Manyu was being hunted by the Hellish Two-Headed Hound on the 10th floor, her spatial scroll had been interrupted by the beast's divine ability. There were all kinds of Giant Kings. There was no guarantee they wouldn't have some counter to a spatial divine ability. The answer was exactly as he'd feared. The Grand Libationer added, don't overthink it. Giant Kings are rare, and the wind and space variants are even rarer. Even the 3 deity transformations and 1 bodhisattva didn't encounter them during their last deep incursion. The odds of you meeting one are practically 0. Hearing this, the heavy atmosphere lightened just a bit. Any other questions? The Grand Libationer asked again. Fang Chen thought for a moment, wanting to clarify the reward details. I was wondering. Suddenly, he found he couldn't speak, his mouth sealed by an invisible force. The Grand Libationer's annoyed voice echoed in his mind. You ask too many questions. Are you going to let everyone set off in peace or not? Then a booming voice echoed all around. If there are no objections, then let's move out. A vein throbbed on Fang Chen's forehead. This Grand Libationer was a real piece of work. With a series of whooshes, the teams that had already formed soared into the air, following the sky, touching black pillar up into the endless azure void. Fang Chen looked at Baeksun, Song Lingyu, and Vajrafane. All right, let's go. Just then, Gu Zinner bounced over to them. What about me? What about me? Can I come along? Fang Chen sized her up with a disdainful look. A weakling at the 3-Aperture Nascent Soul realm, what good would you be? Gu Zinner rolled her eyes at him, then pulled out a piece of white paper and tossed it to him. Take that back. Fang Chen caught it, unfolded it, and his eyes immediately lit up. It was a brand new rubbing of the Jade Heavenly Tome. With this, he could push the power of his soul to the next level. Fine. You can come along as cannon fodder. Gu Zinner shook a small fist at him. You wouldn't dare. Fang Chen just smiled, then looked up at the sky-touching black pillar. Let's go. He leaped into the air, flying up alongside the sky-touching black pillar, with Song Lingyu, Vajrafane, and Gu Zinner following close behind. Everyone was filled with curiosity. What kind of place lay at the top of the sky, touching black pillar? How could it give birth to such incredibly ferocious beings as the ancient giants? Fueled by a sense of wonder, they soared ever upward, deeper and deeper into the endless azure void. The higher they ascended into the heavens, the more violent the winds became. After flying non-stop for 3 days, they had left Taking Grand Province far behind, reaching an immeasurable altitude. Looking down, Taking Grand Province was now no bigger than a tiny pebble. What truly shocked Fang Chen was the sheer, terrifying force of the gales at this height. The world around them was a swirling, pitch-black abyss filled with tangible astral wind. Their roaring gusts were so powerful, they caused searing pain in everyone's ears. Anyone below the early Nascent Soul realm who fell into these winds would be instantly shredded to pieces by their shearing force. Terrified, Gu Zinner cowered and scurried closer to Fang Chen, her face pale as she gripped his sleeve with a small hand. So the deep sky is this dangerous? No wonder no one ever comes up here. Fang Chen's expression was grim. He never imagined that the azure void, which seemed so unfathomable from below, was actually this perilous. Don't be afraid. We just have to stay close to the sky-touching black pillar. The gales were ferocious, but miraculously, they seemed to part around the sky-touching black pillar, creating a safe zone just a few feet wide that kept the group protected. Fang Chen mused. Perhaps these gales in the upper atmosphere act as a barrier, protecting the Central Plains world from outside invasion. And the sky-touching black pillar, it carves a safe path right through that barrier for invaders. At his words, realization dawned on everyone. That would explain why the ancient giants had to descend along the sky-touching black pillar instead of just dropping down anywhere they pleased. The depths of the sky held gales that even the giants feared. Fang Chen continued, right now, the sky-touching black pillar only protects a narrow path. Given the size of the ancient giants, it's not wide enough for them to descend safely. If the pillar's protective field continues to expand, creating a safe corridor wide enough for them to pass through, that will be the day the ancient giants truly descend. It clicked for everyone once again. No wonder the ancient giants were waiting for a specific time to launch their full invasion. As they continued their ascent, the ever-increasing ferocity of the winds only served to confirm Fang Chen's theory. 5 days later, they even caught sight of the wind origin essence, a force so pure and destructive it could kill even a soul transformation Venerable. Not even the Giant King himself would dare to pass through it recklessly. If you were lucky, you'd end up like Venerable Mantra falling like a fireball, your divine halo shattered, your cultivation crippled. If you were unlucky, the wind origin essence would simply erase you from existence. And then, finally, they reached the top of the sky-touching black pillar. A brilliant light appeared above them. It was as if they were at the bottom of a deep, dark well, looking up at the bright, circular opening. Focusing their gaze, they saw that it was a new sky, a sky where 9 suns blazed in a perfect line. This was the home of the ancient giants, the southern heaven realm. The 100 or so experts from the Central Plains all hovered there, staring in stunned silence at the sight of 9 suns in the sky. It was their first glimpse of another world. An unspoken understanding passed between them. No one rushed out blindly. After the failed reconnaissance by the 3 deity transformations and 1 bodhisattva, there was no way the ancient giants wouldn't be on high alert. It was more than likely that incredibly powerful giants were lying in ambush at the pillar's exit. Therefore, someone needed to scout the exit first. Gu Zinner giggled. Well, I guess that's my cue. She pulled out a sheet of red paper and expertly cut it into a palm-sized paper figurine. Then, she turned to Fang Chen. Give me your hand. For what? Fang Chen asked, confused. Gu Zinner didn't waste time. She grabbed his hand, tilted a corner of her mask to reveal her soft red lips, and took his index finger into her mouth. A soft, warm sensation washed over him, making his heart skip a beat. A faint blush even crept onto his face. Deputy Pavilion Master Gu, everyone's watching. Suddenly, a sharp sting shot through him. Gu Zinner bit down, piercing his skin with her sharp teeth. She quickly pressed his finger against the paper doll, letting the droplets of blood soak into the material. Fang Chen winced in pain. Are you a dog or something? Gu Zinner waved the red paper figurine. Having tasted Fang Chen's blood, the doll actually began to twitch and stir with life. The doll scrambled up the sky-touching black pillar toward the exit. It's a scapegoat paper figurine, Gu Zinner explained. It requires human blood to activate. Fang Chen glanced at the wound on his index finger. Then why didn't you use your own blood? He grumbled. Gu Zinner replied with perfect logic, because I'd never dream of biting myself. Fang Chen almost laughed in frustration. Fine. Just wait until you're the one serving as cannon fodder. He couldn't help but feel that bite was a little personal. But he had no time to dwell on it. As the red figure climbed, his vision synced with it. It was as if his own eyes were mounted on the paper doll. He could see everything it saw. This truly was the ultimate magical artifact for scouting. Before long, the figurine successfully cleared the sky-touching black pillar and looked around. A vast sea of black clouds met Fang Chen's eyes. The roiling mist was thick with wind origin essence, the kind of raw power that could shred a Venerable to pieces. Floating above the clouds were rocks of all sizes, ranging from pebbles to massive boulders hundreds of feet wide, clustered densely around the sky-touching black pillar. Suddenly, 3 massive, azure silhouettes came into view. They were ancient giants, each standing over 100 feet tall. They sat on a giant rock, grunting and chattering in the tongue of the hell race. Luckily, in the days before arriving at White Horse Temple, Fang Chen had studied the translation book written by Baeksin. He understood every word. Which little brat moved the sky-touching black pillar to Chaos Lake? One grumbled. Now we're stuck hauling rocks to build a path all day. When we descend, I'm going to find that kid and roast him alive. I'm going to deep fry him. I want him served as sashimi. A vein throbbed in Fang Chen's temple. Unbelievable. His first time in the Southern Heaven realm, and the locals were already debating 3 different ways to cook him. He used the figurine to scan the area. As far as he could see through the churning clouds, there were no other ancient giants nearby. He turned to Baeksin. There are 300-foot tall ancient giants guarding the perimeter. The group's tension eased slightly at the news. Guzinner said excitedly, "Then what are we waiting for? Let's charge out." "There's only 3 of them, and so many of us. We'll carve them up like watermelons." Fang Chen flicked her forehead. "Use your head." After the 3 deity transformations and 1 bodhisattva stormed the Southern Heaven realm, do you really think the ancient giants wouldn't be on high alert? Those 3 are likely just bait, meant to lure us into a false sense of security. Guzinner clutched her forehead, stomping her foot in frustration. That jerk hit me again. I'm definitely adding another note to my death diary. Make it a whole page. Baeksin nodded. He's right. Ancient giants can communicate emergency signals by vibrating the blood in their veins. Beyond that, they can sense the death of any kinsman within a certain range. For instance, a fire giant can instantly feel the fall of another fire giant. There may only be 3 in front of us, but they can alert the others in an instant. The group was stunned. They hadn't realized the ancient giants would be this difficult to handle. If not for Baeksin's warning, they would have walked straight into a trap. It clicked for Fang Chen. No wonder the Taishan Directorate had been rounding up ancient giants all these years. They were studying them. And clearly, they had discovered quite a lot. He pondered for a moment. In that case, we need to neutralize them quickly. We have to knock them unconscious without killing them. Baeksin gave a slight nod and looked around the group. Who is confident they can pull this off? We only have 1 shot. If we fail, this scouting mission is over. Everyone tensed up. If they gave those ancient giants even a second to sound the alarm. With a massive horde of giants gathering, scouting is out of the question. This move is critical to the entire operation. Who would dare take such a gamble? 1 mistake and you're the one to blame for everything. Fang Chen thought for a moment. I'm confident I can take one of them down, he said. I have 2 ways to do it. The first is Immortal's intoxication. Theoretically, it can put 3 ancient giants into a deep sleep. The catch is, it's not instant. They could easily alert the others by surging their vital energy before they pass out. The other method is the soul imprisoning lock. It can instantly paralyze an ancient giant's soul, stripping them of their motor functions, but it only works on 1 target at a time. I can handle 1 as well, Baeksin said. She looked towards Song Lingyu, who shook her head. I can kill them instantly, no problem. But subduing them, my sanctuary of myriad tribulations, isn't exactly known for that kind of divine ability. Baeksin scanned the rest of the group. Everyone shook their heads. They either lacked the skill or weren't willing to risk the fallout. When her gaze fell on Zong Chaosheng, he grit his teeth and said, "Count me in." He caught Fang Chen out of the corner of his eye. His pride stung. There was no way a member of the 18 Scions of Taking was going to be outclassed by a guy like Fang Chen. Baeksin frowned. Does your Godspeed sect have a technique for subduing targets? From what I recall, the Godspeed sect has spent the last few decades focused on raiding ancient ruins. Your methods usually lean towards suppressing evil spirits, reading Feng Shui and Providence, or literally moving mountains. Don't worry, Commander Bai, Zong Chaosheng said confidently, the Godspeed sect has an ancient knock-out technique. Taking down an ancient giant will be child's play. Is that so? Seeing no one else willing to volunteer, Bakeson nodded. Fine. The three of us will handle it. Fang Chen's brow furrowed. A bit overconfident, aren't we? He quietly activated his secret echo, pulling both Bakeson and Zong Chaosheng into a divine sense communication. This is a divine sense communication. Only the three of us can hear. Wait for my signal, then we act together. We have to neutralize all three ancient giants at the exact same time. Bakeson thought to herself, impressive. With divine sense communication, our coordination will be much better. A flicker of jealousy crossed Zong Chaosheng's eyes. This guy. How does he have such high-level gear? Even I don't have something like this. Mentally, he snapped. Why the hell should we follow your signal? We do this on my command. Fang Chen was speechless. He's seriously trying to turn this into a power struggle. Bakeson, wanting to keep the peace, said, Fine, we'll go on Zong Chaosheng's signal. I assume you both have your own ways of staying hidden. That calmed Zong Chaosheng down. He pulled out 2 high-grade dustless talismans and handed one to Bakeson with a smile. Here you go, Commander Bai. Then he turned to Fang Chen. Oh, sorry. I only have 2. You'll have to figure something out on your own. Fang Chen shook his head and muttered, What year is it? Who still uses dustless talismans for invisibility? He formed a series of hand seals and chanted under his breath, activating the selfless dust, cleansing art. A moment later, he vanished into thin air right in front of them. Zong Chaosheng scanned the area, but he couldn't find a single trace of Fang Chen. He couldn't even sense a hint of his presence. The display left him shaken. What kind of technique is this? It's absolutely insane. A concealment technique, Bakeson noted. That's the giant family's selfless dust. Cleansing art, isn't it? She handed the high-grade dustless talisman back to Zong Chaosheng. I won't be needing one either. A shroud of black mist surged around her. As the mist dissipated, she vanished from sight. Even a 7-aperture Nascent Soul wouldn't have been able to detect her presence. Finally, everyone looked back at Zong Chaosheng, since the others didn't need talismans. They assumed Zong Chaosheng wouldn't need one either, right? Zong Chaosheng clutched the high-grade dustless talisman, his face turning a humiliated shade of purple. He'd been so ready to show off and put Fang Chen in his place. After all, Fang Chen came from nothing. Where would a commoner like him even get his hands on a high-grade dustless talisman? Instead, he was the one who got completely flexed on. With everyone watching him expectantly, Zong Chaosheng's face burned with embarrassment. He sheepishly slapped the dustless talisman onto his chest, faded into invisibility, and grunted, Move out. The 3 of them were cloaked in invisibility. They leaped from the sky, touching black pillar, completely silent. While Zong Chaosheng and Bakeson were still reeling from the incredible scene, Fang Chen had already slipped behind the 3 ancient giants. He sent a mental message, Are you all in position? The other 2 snapped out of it and quickly moved onto the rock where the ancient giant stood. Zong Chaosheng took charge. I'll take the one in the middle. Bakeson, you get the one on the left. Fang Chen, you're on the far right. Fang Chen took a deep breath, channeling the power of his soul. All right, I'm ready. Bakeson unhooked the small yellow bell from her waist. Ready here, too. A sharp glint appeared in Zong Chaosheng's eyes. He refused to be outdone by Fang Chen. He instantly summoned a black coffin and roared, Now. The word was barely out of his mouth before he struck. Fang Chen's face fell. By the time he heard the command, the ripples of Zong Chaosheng's attack were already spreading, more than enough to alert the ancient giants. That guy, is he so desperate to be first that he'd jeopardize the entire mission? Luckily, his own specialty was soul attacks, which were instantaneous. The moment the rightmost ancient giant began to react, Fang Chen struck, soul imprisoning lock. Instantly, the giant froze, completely immobile. Bakeson's eyes narrowed. Zong Chaosheng's jumped. Start had put her on the back foot. Sensing the danger, the giant on the left began to vibrate, its body thrumming as it tried to send out a warning pulse of energy to its kin. But Bakeson was fast. The yellow bell in her palm instantly swelled to an immense size, slamming down and trapping the giant beneath it. As the bell tolled, the ancient giant within was frozen in place. It was none other than the legendary divine treasure of the Directorate of Astronomy, the immobilizing bell. The 2 of them let out a breath of relief, their attention snapping back to Zong Chaosheng. Cloaked as they were, they couldn't see what he was doing. They could only see the ancient giant, its face twisted in agony, fighting against some unseen force that was trying, and failing to drag it in. Their expressions hardened. Zong Chaosheng had attacked first, and he still hadn't subdued his target. If that giant managed to gather its wits and send out that energy pulse, their whole mission would be over before it began. Zong Chaosheng himself was starting to panic. His black coffin could imprison and suppress even a master at the Aperture Nascent Soul realm, but against the raw, immense power of an ancient giant, it was proving useless. Then his heart sank. After a moment of struggle, the ancient giant finally remembered to send its warning, and its body began to thrum with power. Visible pulses of crimson energy began to radiate from its body, shooting out into the distance. Fang Chen's expression twisted. Little Killin, he snapped. Instantly, the little Killin teleported from his arms to the top of the ancient giant's head. It held a small crystal in its tiny paws, which it then crushed. A single seed dropped out, landing precisely on the ancient giant's scalp. The seed split open, revealing a row of tiny, sharp teeth that bit down hard into the giant's flesh. The giant's violent thrashing stopped at once, its struggles weakening with every passing second. Only then was the black coffin able to finally suck the ancient giant inside. But they were a fraction of a second too late. One of the energy pulses had already escaped. The crimson warning shot into the distance, seemingly unstoppable. But Fang Chen was already moving, unleashing his shadow in the clouds technique. He became a bolt of lightning, streaking after the pulse to cut it off. He snapped open Jiao Huangian's paper fan, and a swirling black hole materialized on its surface, swallowing the energy pulse hole. The fan snapped shut, and the warning signal was silenced. The crisis was averted. Baixin finally relaxed, her admiration unconcealed. Incredible work. The Grand Libationer will be sure to reward you handsomely for this. If Fang Chen hadn't saved the day at the last second, their entire reconnaissance mission would have been a failure. Fang Chen just shrugged. Doesn't matter. It was all for the mission. He walked up to Zong Chaosheng. I'll take that seed back now. It turned out he'd had a backup plan all along. Seeing how overconfident Zong Chaosheng was, he had discreetly given the stasis seed to the little Killin, just in case he screwed up. And he'd been right to do so. Zong Chaosheng's face burned with humiliation, and he snapped. You had a tool like that, and you waited until now to use it. You nearly doomed the entire mission. Fang Chen could hardly believe his ears. Are you actually blaming me? You were the one who acted so confident, demanding we let you lead. Then you went rogue, leaving Commander Bai and me to clean up your mess, while we struggled to take down those ancient giants. How is any of this my fault? He'd dealt with his fair share of irrational people, but this was a whole new level of delusion. Baixin spoke up, her voice calm. Our actions have already been transmitted directly to the Grand Libationer. He'll see the truth for himself. Shifting the blame won't change a thing. Zong Chaosheng's eyes flickered as the realization hit him. Everyone carried a spatial mark. There was no way he could pin his own failures on Fang Chen. His expression darkened as he pulled a seed from his black coffin and tossed it at Fang Chen. This is only the beginning, he spat. The game isn't over yet. Fang Chen caught the seed, not even bothering to give him the time of day. He sent out a signal, and Gu Zinner and the others immediately emerged from the sky, touching Black Pillar. They looked around, taking in their new surroundings with wide-eyed curiosity. Fang Chen said, his voice dropping an octave, listen up, we don't have much time. We need to split up and scout different directions. Go as deep as you can. We need to know exactly what kind of forces these ancient giants have. Zong Chaosheng, clearly eager to prove himself, didn't say a word before leading his team toward the north. The rest of the groups followed suit, heading out one by one. Eventually, only Fang Chen and his small team were left. Song Lingyu pointed toward the deserted western plains. Let's head that way. Hold on, Fang Chen said. He watched the others disappear into the distance before turning back toward the sky, touching Black Pillar. As he approached, the sky-touching Black Pillar actually tried to shift away from him. They had heard rumors that Fang Chen could move the sky-touching Black Pillar, but seeing it in person left Gu Zinner, Song Lingyu, and Baixin stunned. While they watched in confusion, Fang Chen pulled out a massive chain and lashed it around the pillar. Despite the pillar's struggle, he forcefully strapped it to his own back. Gu Zinner's eyes went wide. What are you doing? Why are you lugging that thing around? Fang Chen gave her a mysterious smirk. I'm just looking out for my teammates. Think of it as a little insurance policy. Wherever I go, the pillar and its portals go too. We won't even need a spatial seal if we need to make a quick getaway. Even if we run into that Powerhouse 5, Star Giant King, or the Wind and Spatial Giants, we won't have to worry about being trapped. The realization dawned on them. A massive grin spread across Gu Zinner's face. Oh, I get it now. That's actually genius. With the sky-touching black pillar on our side, we can walk through the southern heaven realm like we own the place. Song Lingyu chuckled. I'm glad I swallowed my pride to get my Dharma artifact back and stick with this little merchant. Best decision I've made so far. Bakeson considered this for a moment, so that's why you asked if moving the pillar would confuse the others. You had this planned from the very beginning. Vajraphayan offered a cupped fist salute with a smile. Amituofo, Benefactor Fang is truly gifted. No wonder the Bodhisattva said you share a profound destiny with the Buddha. Fang Chen rolled his eyes. If you're so obsessed with destiny, maybe I should leave you here in the southern heaven realm to try and convert those ancient giants. Vajraphayan just smiled and summoned the 8th-grade golden lotus. Come, my friends, ride upon my lotus. It has been blessed by the Bodhisattva. It can travel 10 million miles in a single day and remain completely invisible. Fang Chen hopped on without hesitation. To his surprise, even the massive pillar on his back vanished within the golden Buddha light. Those Bodhisattva-blessed items really are the real deal, he thought. Half an hour later, they spotted an island. It was covered in ancient trees that reached hundreds of feet into the sky, with flowers and fruits of impossible proportions. Bees the size of golden eagles buzzed past them, sensing their presence. A gray rabbit, as large as a wild boar, bolted from the 10-foot tall grass. The group watched in absolute awe. The southern heaven realm was a bizarre place where everything grew to a gargantuan scale. It made sense now the ancient giants weren't naturally that big. It was the environment itself that had forged them. Gu Zinner glanced down at her chest, her eyes lighting up. I just had a very bold idea. Fang Chen immediately knew where she was going with that. A vein throbbed in his forehead. Kill that thought right now. You're going to end up with something bigger than your head, if you're not careful. Gu Zinner gave him a huffy punch on the arm. I'm still going to try. Suddenly, Bakeson signaled for silence. She narrowed her eyes at a group of the human race quietly flying over the island toward the sky-touching black pillar. Fang Chen was caught off guard. He hadn't expected to find members of the human race in a place like the southern heaven realm. He focused his senses and detected a faint, pure trace of Yin-Kai coming from them. It clicked. He told the others via divine sense. They're from the Asura Clan. It was strange. This was supposed to be the heaven realm, yet it was crawling with hellish beings. First the hellish desolate beasts, then that girl who fell from the sky, and now a whole squad of the Asura Clan. Just as Fang Chen was debating whether to intercept them for questioning, a roar erupted from the island below. Hundreds of ancient trees were uprooted and launched into the sky like massive, jagged arrows raining down on the group. Looking down, they saw over a dozen ancient giants hidden beneath the earth. They had been lying in wait, ambushing the Asura Clan by hurling the massive trees. Caught completely off guard, 4 of the Asura Clan were instantly crushed into a bloody mist. The remaining 6 panicked, screaming in the tongue of hell, "It's the ancient giants from the Blackstone tribe. We've been compromised. Protect the young master and get out of here. I'll hold them off." An elder of the Asura Clan stood there, aged but surging with raw power. His eyes pulsed with a dark radiance, and every ancient tree in his path melted into nothingness. His cultivation had reached the terrifying 8th-Aperture Asura realm. The ancient giants lying in wait were no weaklings either. A massive titan, over 100 feet tall and covered in golden spots, dwarfed his kin. He kicked off the island with such force that the entire landmass sank into the black sea of clouds below as he launched himself into the air. Clutching a spiked club, he swung with such speed it left a trail of afterimages, slamming it into the Asura elder. The dark light in the elder's eyes was instantly snuffed out as he took the full, brutal force of the blow. A second later, the elder's body disintegrated. His ancient soul drifted out, letting out a desperate shriek. You animals. The soul began to expand rapidly. Glowing with a destructive light, he was going to detonate his own essence to take his enemies with him. The massive giant gave a mocking sneer. He flicked out a long, crimson tongue that lashed out like lightning, wrapping around the elder's soul. Before the elder could finish his scream, he was dragged into the giant's maw and devoured alive. The group watched, their hearts turning to ice. An 8-Aperture Nascent Soul powerhouse had been obliterated, body and soul, in just 2 moves. This giant was definitely a 9-Aperture level monster. To make matters worse, the giant turned his massive, vertical eye toward them after finishing his meal. With a look of pure cruelty, he locked onto Fang Chen and his companions and hurled his spiked club straight at them. The sheer pressure of the attack made Fang Chen's skin crawl. The club was moving so fast, he didn't even have time to trigger Shadow in the clouds. Attacked together, Fang Chen barked via soul transmission. He immediately pulled out the black cauldron from the sect leader of Sanking Mountain. Runes swarmed over the artifact, condensing into a spear that shot forward. It shattered upon impact with the spiked club, only managing to slow its momentum slightly. Hell Lotus, Song Lingyu struck next. A lotus flower detonated against the weapon, sending the spiked club wobbling and further draining its force. As expected of an 8-aperture Nascent Soul, her power was significant, yet the spiked club still carried a lethal threat. Baeksin instantly activated the yellow bell. With a heavy, resonant gong, the sound waves froze the spiked club in place for a fraction of a second. Vajraphayan chanted a holy name, Amitabha. The wind and clouds do not move, it is the heart that moves. A shroud of invisible Buddhist Dharma light descended, finally locking the spiked club dead in the air. By combining their full strength, the four of them had barely managed to block a single strike, but it was only one strike. Whish, a streak of crimson lightning followed right behind the club. The giant's tongue lashed out, snagging everyone at once and dragging them toward his gaping, bloody maw. Panic flared as they desperately attacked the tongue. Despite its fleshy appearance, it seemed immune to their divine abilities and spells. Even when Song Lingyu blasted it with a Hell Lotus, it only managed to draw a roar of pain from the giant without loosening its grip. Within heartbeats, they were inches from the giant's teeth. A wave of ice, cold dread shot from their heels to their skulls. In that desperate moment, Fang Chen pulled out the heaven, refining furnace. After being suppressed by the listening snow sword for days, it had accumulated a fresh batch of volatile blue magma. It wasn't enough to kill a soul transformation expert, but it was more than enough to take down a 9-aperture giant. However, the moment the heaven, refining furnace appeared, the 9-aperture giant sensed the lethal danger. He reacted instantly, flicking his tongue to hurl them away and create distance. Fang Chen was stunned. Such terrifying instincts. He hadn't even activated the heaven, refining furnace yet, and the beast was already on high alert. Dealing with these ancient giants was going to be a nightmare. Song Lingyu's expression was grim. Baeksin nodded in agreement. Incredible strength, immunity to most spells, and a lifetime of combat experience. They have razor-sharp instincts. They're natural, born apex predators. Vajraphayan's face clouded over. With an exchange like that, is it possible he's already used his blood? Kai to alert the other near-by ancient giants. Everyone stiffened. They had almost forgotten about the giant's uncanny ability to communicate through their blood. Kai. Reinforcements could be swarming their position at any moment. Then we have to finish this fast, Fang Chen said, his voice low. It was easier said than done. A 9-aperture giant wasn't the kind of enemy you could just finish off. Using every trick in their arsenal, they'd barely managed to survive a single hit. Fang Chen, take my Dharma artifact and be ready to restrain me. Song Lingyu shouted, her mind made up. Before Fang Chen could ask why, she pulled out a jade slip. It hummed with the faint, pulsing aura of a soul transformation Venerable, a Venerable's item from the Sanctuary of Myriad Tribulations. What are you planning? Fang Chen asked, confused. She's going to embrace the madness, Baeksin said calmly. The Venerable of the Sanctuary of Myriad Tribulations is known as Venerable Heart Demon. His domain forces a person's deepest obsessions to the surface, driving them into a demonic state. For an 8-aperture Nascent Soul who already struggles with inner demons, this domain will trigger an instant psychotic break. Fang Chen froze. He knew what that domain could do, but that only made him more confused. If she loses her mind, won't we be down our strongest fighter? Song Lingyu was their heavy hitter. If she went insane, how were they supposed to win? Vajraphayan's eyes glowed with insight. Be patient, Benefactor Fang. The madness of Central Land denizens is a unique thing to behold. The 9-aperture giant wasn't about to give them a timeout. Keeping his distance and eyeing the heaven, refining furnace warily, he gripped his spiked club again. His muscles rippled and bulged as he channeled even more power for a throw that would dwarf the last strike. Song Lingyu didn't hesitate. She pressed the jade slip to her forehead. A sliver of the Venerable Heart Demon's domain leaked out, instantly igniting her inner obsessions. A split second later, Fang Chen felt a wave of agonizing spiritual pressure. It wasn't physical, it was a direct assault on his mind. Memories of Lai Qingfeng's death flooded back. He saw Ling Shu dying in his arms all over again. These faded scars were ripped open, bleeding a sorrow far more intense than he had ever felt. Tears tracked down his face as he collapsed to his knees on the lotus seat. An unstoppable tide of grief turned into pure despair, snuffing out every spark of hope and leaving him with no will to live. He looked at Gu Zinner, her head hung low, her eyes vacant and hollow. She looked like a walking corpse, someone who had completely given up on life. Even Vajraphayan, with all his years of training in the Buddhist Dharma, couldn't help but sigh in grief. The worldly desires he had long since severed were beginning to regrow. Only Bakeson remained unfazed. Her eyes were as calm as ever. Using soul transmission, she began chanting the heart, clearing mantra directly into their minds. The fog of despair lifted from Fang Chen. Shaken, he quickly recited the jade paper heavenly book to purge the lingering mental corruption. Her madness, it's contagious, Fang Chen panted, unable to believe he had just spiraled into such a dark place. It affects anyone nearby. Bakeson warned. She's moving. Get ready to strike. Song Lingyu blurred into a shadow in the clouds, streaking toward the Nine-Aperture Giant. The giant sensed her approach and sneered, raising his spiked club to swat the incoming bolt of lightning. But as she got closer, his movements began to falter. A look of profound sadness replaced his murderous rage. His massive eye grew dim. Just like Fang Chen moments ago, the giant lost all will to fight and slumped to his knees. He even raised his own spiked club, hesitating as if he were considering crushing his own skull. Bakeson drew her blade. The effect won't last long. We only get one shot. She lunged forward, her sword aimed straight for the giant's massive eye. Venerable raised a shimmering golden demons, subduing pestle. The fair-faced young monk transformed into a fierce warrior, like Liu Han, and soared through the air, bringing the artifact down toward the giant's head with bone-shattering force. Fang Chen blurred into motion with shadow in the clouds, his hand already tight around the listening snow sword, as he prepared to unleash the blue magma. The trio's devastating attacks converged on the Nine-Aperture Giant all at once. A series of deep, ferocious roars erupted from the island. The adult ancient giants had sensed the dire peril of the Nine-Aperture Giant and were now bellowing in response. The roars were so piercing they shook Fang Chen and the others to their core, momentarily slowing their attacks. In that instant, the Nine-Aperture Giant snapped to its senses, its face contorting in terror as it swung its spiked club violently toward them. Venerable's pupils constricted, his heart, stilled by years of meditative calm, now pounded against his ribs. He knew this was it. They were caught in a death trap. All of them, including Song Lingyu, were about to be obliterated by this surprise attack. But just as all hope seemed lost, a sharp cry cut through the air immeasurable ring. It was Fang Chen, unleashing his trump card. He had feared the ancient giants would suddenly awaken. If that happened, their assault would have been a suicide mission, which was why he'd been secretly clutching the immeasurable ring the entire time. An invisible force of gravity slammed down on the Nine-Aperture Giant, instantly crushing its massive 100-foot frame. The swinging spiked club was forced down with it, scraping just beneath their feet as they escaped death by a hair's breadth. A horrifying scream followed as the immense force pressed the Nine-Aperture Giant into the sea of clouds below, a churning vortex of pure wind origin essence. The moment its legs sank in, they were instantly shredded into a mist of blood. In a desperate struggle for survival, the Nine-Aperture Giant shot its tongue out, wrapping it around a distant rock to haul its mangled upper torso back out of the deadly clouds. But now that Fang Chen had made his move, he wasn't about to give it a moment's rest. Predicting its trajectory, he drew his listening snow sword and unleashed a stream of blue magma no thicker than a man's arm, which sputtered out weakly, but thankfully landed squarely on the Nine-Aperture Giant's chest. It let out a final, agonizing roar. Even at the brink of death, its eyes burned with savage fury. "We knew you were coming. You're not getting back. You'll all die here in the heaven realm." As its manic laughter echoed, its body dissolved into ash. If the magma could melt even the legendary physique of the Cold Mountain Giant King, what chance did this one ever have? But its dying words made Fang Chen's heart pound with unease, and his expression turned grim. "See, rushed right in, and ended up as cannon fodder, didn't you?" Gu Zinner, who had been hanging back the whole time, effortlessly lifted the 50-foot-long spiked club and threw her head back with a triumphant laugh. Venerable put away his demons, subduing staff, and pressed his palms together. "Amitabha, may its spirit find peace." He looked at Fang Chen and said, "Thank you for your timely intervention, Benefactor Fang." Bakeson also nodded at Fang Chen. "Thanks, that was impressive." If not for Gu Zinner's immeasurable ring activating at the critical moment, they would all have died right there. Fang Chen snapped out of his thoughts and glanced at the heavens. Blitting furnace in his hand, it was still twitching faintly, as if it hadn't quite expelled all the residual magma. He inserted the spirit listening sword back into it. The furnace gave one last shudder and fell silent. Next, Fang Chen turned to Song Lingyu. Her hair was a mess as she stared at her own hands, completely lost in a bottomless depression. Even from a distance, Fang Chen could feel the suffocating aura of despair radiating from her, and a shiver of lingering fear went down his spine. He quickly activated the Control Dharma artifact, his eyes filled with curiosity as he studied the various locks on her limbs and back. He wondered how exactly they were meant to restrain a berserk warrior. As the Dharma artifact activated, the chains on Song Lingyu's limbs snapped tight, immobilizing her feet and clamping her hands shut. Fang Chen watched unimpressed. That's it. Doesn't seem all that special. The next moment, several metal plates on Song Lingyu's back flew into the air, instantly forming a hammer that smashed down hard on her forehead. The hammer contained a stunning soul attack. With a loud clang, Song Lingyu's eyes rolled back, and she collapsed, unconscious. Fang Chen stared, his eyes wide. Seriously, is the method for subduing a berserk warrior really that basic? Seeing Song Lingyu plummet, Fang Chen flew over and caught her. He sighed, this adventuring life is rough. You do all the work just to get hammered in the end. Gu Zinner flew back, effortlessly carrying the spiked club that towered over her. She scoffed, you're feeling sorry for her. You're already a 4-aperture Nascent Soul. You're not that far from the 8-aperture Nascent Soul realm yourself. When that time comes, if you go berserk, you'll get knocked out just the same. Oh, come on. Fang Chen was speechless. The way she put it, he wasn't even sure he wanted to break through to the 8-aperture Nascent Soul realm anymore. It sounded miserable. Vajraphayan offered a gentle smile. If you are afraid, Benefactor Fang, you are always welcome at our White Horse Temple. Our 1st and 2nd rank Vajras do not suffer such a brutal fate. Fang Chen asked, surprised, then what do you do when your 1st and 2nd rank Vajras go berserk? Vajraphayan explained, the Buddhist prayer beads, gifted by a bodhisattva, erase their memories and return them to a state of tranquility. Fang Chen remembered how that same bodhisattva had, with a single sentence, made everyone present except for himself and Abbot Puguang completely forget about the Bodhi tree. The memory sent a chill down his spine. How is that any different from being a walking corpse? I'd rather get hammered. Baeksin tightened her grip on her spirit sword. First, let's deal with the remaining ancient giants. She looked toward the island, where some of the ancient giants were attempting to hide, while others were trying to make a break for it. Capture them alive if you can. Fang Chen directed immediately. I have a use for them back home. Without another word, he led the charge. A full-grown ancient giant only possessed the combat power of the 5-aperture Nascent Soul realm. Taking them down was no trouble at all for Fang Chen. With effortless efficiency, he captured 2 of them alive. Baeksin secured 2 more, and Vajraphayan brought back another pair. One final giant was captured by the group of fleeing Asura Clan members and delivered right to Fang Chen. We owe you our thanks, masters. To capture the ancient giant, the group had all sustained various degrees of injury. Baeksin and the others remained indifferent. They couldn't understand a single word being said. Only Fang Chen gave them a quick one, sober before replying, don't mention it. Surprise flashed in the eyes of the 6 Asura Clan members. One of them, an Asura youth who looked no older than 18, stepped forward immediately. You are beings from the Central Land Realm, aren't you? It seems the rumors were true after all. The last time your people infiltrated the royal court, they sparked a massive battle and slaughtered many ancient giants. Fang Chen's heart stirred. He was clearly talking about Venerable Mantra and his team. The 4 of them had worked together to infiltrate the royal court, a place that sounded like the very heart of enemy territory. Too bad they went to the wrong place. The youth side, they should have headed for the ancient sinkhole. That is the true source of all evil. The Asura youth let out a heavy sigh. Fang Chen narrowed his eyes. Was this kid trying to manipulate him into going to the ancient sinkhole? I'll decide where I need to go, Fang Chen said bluntly. I don't need your directions. He couldn't tell if these Asura were friends or foes. There was no way he would trust them blindly. As he spoke, he increased the distance between them, keeping his guard up. Vajraphayan summoned the 8th grade lotus, shrinking it until it was small enough to fit in his palm. He cast a subtle glance at the sky-touching black pillar behind Fang Chen. Under the shroud of the lotus's golden light, it remained hidden for now. He decided to fuse the lotus directly into the sky-touching black pillar to mask its presence completely. Their lives depended on that pillar. He couldn't afford to be careless with its protection. The 2 groups stared each other down from a distance. The Asura youth sighed and gave a cupped fist salute. It's only natural you don't trust us. Just as I would find it hard to trust anyone if I were the one traveling to the Central Land Realm. Take care of yourselves. Fang Chen realized then that this group was rushing toward the sky, touching black pillar. They wanted to cross over to the Central Land Realm, just like Tianji, the dark Asura woman, currently trapped at White Horse Temple. His eyes flickered. Don't bother, Fang Chen said. The sky-touching black pillar has been sealed. You're wasting your time. What? The Asura youth's face, already deathly pale, drained of what little color it had left. How can that be? Does this mean we can't avoid becoming ancient giants ourselves? Fang Chen felt a jolt of pure shock. Had he just stumbled upon an earth-shattering secret? These Asura could become ancient giants. Just where the hell did these giants come from? Just as he was about to press for answers, the sea of clouds beneath them began to churn violently. Ripples surged through the mist, and the floating debris started vibrating in a rhythmic pulse. Even suspended in midair, Fang Chen and the others could feel the very atmosphere trembling. It felt as if some colossal entity was marching through the world, its every footfall shaking the foundations of heaven and earth. The expressions of Fang Chen, Baeksin, and Vajra all darkened at once. Their fears from the battle with the Nine-Aperture Giants were coming true. The creature had indeed called for reinforcements. If a monster of its caliber needed help, the one coming to its aid certainly wouldn't be any weaker. Given the sheer scale of the environmental upheaval, it was obvious what kind of being was approaching. A giant king, the Asura young master cried out, his face twisted in terror. It's a giant king, one of them is coming. Move back to the village now. With the sky touching, black pillars sealed, their only choice was to retreat. The 6 Asura immediately summoned plumes of black clouds to carry them away at high speed. The Asura young master shouted back at Fang Chen, beings of the central land realm, if you survive the giant king's hunt, find somewhere to hide. If you can't, come to my village, we can keep you safe there. A 7-aperture Asura barked urgently, there's no time, the giant king is faster than we thought, it's likely the stone giant king himself. Fang Chen remained composed, but he knew the stakes. If the 9-aperture giants were masters of the hunt, a giant king would be even more lethal. As outsiders, they were sitting ducks. They had 2 choices, retreat immediately, or take a gamble and follow the Asura to their village. After a brief moment of consideration, he sent a soul transmission to Baeksin and the others. Follow the Asura, but if the situation goes south, retreat immediately and abort the mission. The others all nodded. Fang Chen handed over all the captured ancient giants to Baeksin. Her immobilizing bell contained an infinite pocket dimension, one capable of holding living beings. It could easily fit all 100 of the giants. Once everything was secured, Fang Chen hoisted Song Lingyu onto his back, Baeksin took Gu Zinner by the hand, and Vajra clutched a string of Buddhist prayer beads. The 5 of them quickly fell in line behind the 6 members of the Asura Clan. About 4 hours later, the tremors weakened considerably, a clear sign they were putting more distance between themselves and the giant king. It seemed the giant king hadn't spotted them. Neither Fang Chen's group nor the Asura Clan showed any sign of slowing down. The Asura young master glanced at Fang Chen, keeping pace beside them, a look of approval in his eyes. No wonder the Central Plains sent you, he commented. Your caution makes you perfect for infiltration. The ancient giants are devious creatures. They often lull their prey into a false sense of security, making them let their guard down. And what waits for them then? A sudden, fatal strike. A chill went down Fang Chen's spine. Baeksin was right. The ancient giants were a race of natural, born predators. He looked at the Asura young master. I'm Wang Chong, a disciple of the Great Yin, sect from the Central Land Realm, and you are? The Asura young master replied, I am Shan Feng, the young master of Black Cloud Stronghold. My father is the Stronghold Master. Thank you for saving me and my people. I will be sure to repay you properly. Fang Chen waved a dismissive hand. No need. If you can truly shelter us from the Giant King, we'll call it even. No debts between us. Oh. He doubted the Asura clan possessed anything he'd find tempting. The resources they each needed for their cultivation were completely different. Shan Feng frowned. I can't accept that. Sheltering you is a simple matter for us, but a life debt must be repaid. I'm sure you have no use for the treasures of the Asura clan, but what about the things left behind by those from your own central land realm? Surely those would be useful if you brought them back. Fang Chen's eyes widened in surprise. Could Venerable Mantra and the others really have left something behind? No one in the outside world knew what they had faced up here, save for the 3 soul transformation experts, the Venerable, and a handful of other core members. What did they leave behind? Fang Chen asked, his curiosity piqued. Anything belonging to a Venerable couldn't possibly be ordinary. Shan Feng considered for a moment. My father said it was a corpse from the deity transformation realm that had been refined into a yin corpse. Fang Chen's pupils contracted. A yin corpse from the deity transformation realm. It had to belong to Venerable Evil Crow. To think that bastard had a deity transformation realm yin corpse hidden up his sleeve. He was more cunning than anyone knew. I can't even imagine it. At the most critical moment in a battle against another soul transformation expert or a bodhisattva, he suddenly unleashes a deity transformation realm yin corpse. What would that even look like? That one corpse could be the deciding factor in any fight. Venerable Evil Crow's deity transformation corpse, no, Fang Chen's deity transformation corpse. Of course Fang Chen didn't trust a word Xian Feng said. This young master might look harmless, but he was clearly sharp. He was deliberately dangling a temptation Fang Chen couldn't possibly resist. Who knew what his real endgame was? He kept his face a blank mask that probably belonged to Venerable Evil Crow. It's only useful for someone who practices a yin corpse cultivation method, useless to the rest of us. At that, Xian Feng just smiled. Well, you could always return it to its rightful owner. I imagine the reward would be substantial. Fang Chen gave a slight nod. We'll see if the opportunity arises. He deliberately feigned a lack of interest. Xian Feng's brow furrowed almost imperceptibly, and he opened his mouth to speak. Suddenly, the very air convulsed. The violent shockwave slammed into the flying group like a hammer blow. It sent their lifeblood churning and threw them into disarray. Fang Chen nearly lost his grip on Song Lingyu. Before they could even recover, another, even more violent tremor hit them. Xian Feng's pupils shrank to pinpricks. The Giant King, he's catching up. He never stopped chasing us, the fading footsteps, it was all a trick to mislead us. Fang Chen's scalp tingled with dread. These ancient giants truly were terrifyingly cunning. It was a good thing they hadn't stopped, or the ancient giants would have been on top of them by now. Panic flashed across Xian Feng's face. Don't lose your heads. Our Black Cloud stronghold isn't far. Once we're inside the stronghold, we'll be completely safe. So that's why the Giant King dropped the act and started closing in. He knew they were getting close to the Black Cloud stronghold. Without a second thought, Fang Chen activated Shadow in the clouds, pushing his speed to its absolute limit. The others unleashed their own techniques, fleeing for their very lives as the air itself thundered with deafening, rhythmic booms. They were tossed about like specks of dust in a storm, thrown up and down by the concussive force. The shockwaves repeatedly shattered Fang Chen's Shadow in the Clouds technique. A cold dread filled him. This was the effect from an unknown distance, caused by nothing more than the raw physical power of its pursuit. He couldn't imagine what would happen up close. A single casual punch, thrown from a distance, would probably be enough to obliterate them all into a fine red mist. But through that harrowing flight, they finally saw it, a strange and distinctive sea of clouds. At its center was a massive vortex, as if something below were swallowing the entire cloudscape. That was the Black Cloud stronghold. Get inside that, and we're home free, Xian Feng cried, his voice filled with wild relief. Fang Chen gauged the distance. It was right at the edge of his sight. A single shadow in the clouds would be enough to blink him across. Without a second thought, he summoned the lightning dragon and barked, "Everyone, get on." Baixin, Gu Zinner, and Vajrafein didn't hesitate, leaping onto the lightning dragon instantly. They shouted again in the foreign tongue, and Xian Feng and several members of the Asura Clan scrambled aboard as well. With a roar from the lightning dragon, they surged forward, arriving at the edge of the horizon in a single heartbeat. Only then did Fang Chen see the vortex for what it really was, a massive island recessed deep within the sea of clouds. The island had been hollowed out into a subterranean fortress, its surface leveled flat to blend with the clouds. "Get inside." "We'll be safe once we're in," Xian Feng cried out in relief, feeling victory within reach. Fang Chen didn't slow down, steering the lightning dragon into a headlong dive toward the entrance. But at the critical moment, a heavy snort rang out. The sound vibrated through them, making their blood boil with pressure, and the lightning dragon beneath them shattered instantly. A terrifying, suffocating pressure washed over them, accompanied by a massive, looming shadow. Everyone looked up, their hearts trembling with pure dread. A giant 10 stories tall with pale gold skin and a black star etched into his brow appeared before them like a ghost. He moved so fast the clouds only reacted after he'd passed, exploding into 100-foot waves that sent floating rocks colliding into one another. Only then did the piercing crack of the sonic boom reach their ears. The gale whipped at their clothes and hair. They could barely keep their footing, nearly blown away by the sheer force of his movement. Everyone stood frozen, staring in terror at the Giant King. He stood with arms crossed, his massive vertical pupils filled with the sadistic amusement of a cat playing with mice. "So close," he taunted, "you almost made it back to the safe zone." The black star on his forehead slowly faded. It was clear that at the last second, he had tapped into his source star, burning through its power to intercept them with that final, explosive leap. Fang Chen's heart hammered. At this point, they had no other choice. They had to retreat, and fast. Fortunately, the sky-touching black pillar was right behind him, and the passage was at his feet. They only needed a split second to dive in and escape. But if the 6 members of the Asura Clan weren't fast enough, the Giant King would surely cut them down. Just then, an old man with white hair and a weathered face flew out from the stronghold. He stopped at the edge of the perimeter and roared in fury, "Release my people." The Giant King gave him a mocking look, barking from inside the stronghold, "If you've got the guts, come out here and say that." Fang Chen was stunned. They seemed to be negotiating across the stronghold's border. Was the Giant King unable to enter? He'd thought Shanfeng's safety inside the stronghold was just a general saying, but it was literal. The Giant King couldn't step foot inside. If he could just find a way in, they would be safe. With the Giant King distracted by the old Asura, Fang Chen quietly pulled out the arm band given to him by Venerable's zinking. According to him, this item could trap someone in the deity transformation realm for 10 breaths of time. If that were true, they had a chance to make a run for it. The old Asura clenched his fists, eyes burning with resentment. "Fine, I'll come out, but you must let my grandson inside first." The Giant King laughed, his vertical eye brimming with malice. "You stole something so precious and tried to smuggle it to the central land realm, and you think he's going to live?" The old man's face paled as he scrambled to deny it. "What are you talking about? I don't understand." "Our Black Cloud stronghold will sacrifice 10 Asuras for your consumption. Great one. Just show mercy and let my grandson go." The Giant King licked his lips cruelly. "No need. Aren't there 6 right here, including your Black Cloud stronghold's young master? They'll taste much better." He pulled out a blood-stained burlap sack. Something was squirming inside. Clearly, he used it to store his prey. As he turned his gaze to finish off the Asura young master, the world suddenly went dark as a massive arm bent streaked toward him. No, he realized, but it was too late. The armband erupted with a pillar of light, trapping the Giant King within. "Who dares ambush me?" he roared, his voice stuttering as the suppression took hold. Fang Chen's eyes lit up. Get to the stronghold. This won't hold him long. Guziner was the fastest. She pulled out a piece of paper, blew on it, and whispered, "I'm blinking." She vanished and reappeared inside the stronghold instantly. Baeksin and Vajraphayan fled into the stronghold without a second thought. The Asura young master and his crew finally snapped out of it and scrambled inside. Fang Chen threw Song Lingyu over his shoulder and sprinted, catching sight of the blood-stained pouch in the giant's hand. He lunged forward and snatched it away. "I'll be taking that." The Giant King was livid. "You Central Land denizen, you have a death wish." The black star flared on his forehead, his strength surging. The light beam that should have held him for 10 breaths of time began to flicker and shake violently. Fang Chen's heart jumped. He activated Shadow in the clouds and dove toward the stronghold. Just as he crossed the threshold, a terrifying blast of wind slammed into his back. The lightning dragon beneath his feet disintegrated, and a tearing pain ripped through his body. He felt like he was about to be pulverized by a single punch. His heart skipped a beat in sheer terror, but in the next heartbeat, the Giant King abruptly pulled back his power. Fang Chen looked back. He had just barely crossed the stronghold's boundary. The Giant King's massive fist was frozen right outside the line, less than 3 inches from Fang Chen. Even without a direct hit, the shockwave alone would have turned him into a bloody mist. Yet the giant had retracted his strength, not daring to cross even an inch into the restricted area. Fang Chen scrambled further back, putting more distance between them. He stared at the Giant King, his heart thundering against his ribs, still reeling from the brush with death. That last strike was way too close. A hair's breadth closer, and he would have been obliterated by the Giant King's punch. The Giant King's vertical eye seethed with dark fury. Staring across the boundary, he growled, "Central Land denizens, return the pouch, and I will let you return to the lower realm. Refuse, and you're dead meat." Fang Chen dangled the pouch. "Come and get it, if you have the guts." Suppressing his rage, the Giant King snatched the floating arm, banned from the air, and held it up to the boundary. "I'll trade you for this." Fang Chen glanced over. The armband was cracked. Its power was severely diminished. If used again, there was no way it could freeze a deity transformation realm expert for as long as it just did. Still, it wasn't a bad defensive magical artifact. He stroked his chin. "One armband isn't enough. You're gonna have to sweeten the deal." Seeing an opening for negotiation, the Giant King pondered for a moment before pulling a small bag from his waist. Inside was a clump of pitch-black soil. The Asura young master gasped, breathing soil from the royal court. "Brother Wang, this breathing soil is a massive treasure. It accelerates plant growth. a medicinal herb that takes a century to mature, would fully bloom in just a month in breathing soil. This breathing soil is exclusively granted to the rare few Giant King royals who have made massive contributions. To think the stone Giant King in front of us actually has a whole bag of it. Fang Chen was stunned. That was insanely overpowered. His thoughts drifted to that mysterious seed capable of freezing people in their tracks. If he planted it in there, who knew what kind of crazy thing would sprout? At the same time, his curiosity flared. What kind of prey was hidden inside the Giant King's pouch that made him so desperate he'd trade such precious breathing soil for it? A glint flashed in his eyes. He readily agreed. Deal, let's trade. We throw our items over at the exact same time. No dirty tricks. Just to be safe, let's make a vow first. To show my sincerity, I'll go first. I, Wang Chongling, swear upon the Southern Heaven Realm if I cheat, may my son look exactly like the guy next door. Shan Feng and several Asura Clan experts who understood the Hell Realm script couldn't help but click their tongues in shock. What a savage oath. Even the Giant King was taken aback. Would anyone actually dare to break a vow like that? After a moment of thought, he responded, I also swear, if I cheat, may my bloodline be severed forever. Fang Chen grinned. All right, on three. He and the Giant King threw their items across the boundary simultaneously. The Giant King snatched the blood-stained pouch, letting out a massive sigh of relief. Immediately after, a mocking gleam appeared in his vertical eye. Meanwhile, Fang Chen grabbed both the armband and the small bag of breathing soil. The moment his fingers closed around the small bag, he realized something was wrong. A strong, pulling force tugged from the other side of the boundary. Something invisible was definitely tethered to the bag, and the other end was in the Giant King's hand. A pathetic bug from the lower realm thinks he can play games with me. With a powerful yank, he fully expected to effortlessly snatch the bag right back. But his violent tug met nothing but empty air, making him stumble forward awkwardly. Jerking his head up, he saw a layer of green flame dancing in Fang Chen's palm, easily burning away the transparent thread he had tied to the bag. You're courting death, give it back. The Giant King roared in utter fury. Fang Chen casually tossed the bag into his spatial storage artifact right in front of him. I knew you were the type to end your own bloodline. I saw that coming a mile away. The Giant King's vertical eye blazed with blinding rage. You Central Plains bug, mark my words, this isn't over. Fang Chen waved dismissively. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. His gaze dark and venomous, the Giant King turned on his heel to leave. But the moment he turned around, he felt a sudden tug at his waist. Looking down, he saw a glowing golden fishhook firmly hooked onto his blood-stained pouch. Before he could even react, whoosh, the blood-stained pouch was snatched into the void. When it reappeared, it was already firmly in Fang Chen's hand. The Giant King was livid. He spun around, his massive vertical eye burning with absolute fury as he roared again and again. You dare break your oath? Aren't you afraid your son will end up looking like the guy next door? Fang Chen weighed the blood-stained pouch in his hand, his expression completely unbothered. A legend doesn't sweat the small stuff. As Wang Chongling, I couldn't care less. The Giant King bellowed, You're freaking shameless. He'd been bold enough to swear on the end of his bloodline only because he didn't actually have any heirs. But this human race brat named Wang Chongling was on a whole different level of audacity. Nearby, the members of the Asura Clan watched the scene, completely stunned. It was a sight for the ages. The notoriously shameless ancient giants were being out. Shameless to the point of absolute outrage. Fang Chen casually picked at his ear. Scream all you want. Gu Zinner and the others were completely lost. They couldn't understand a single word of the exchange. They could only tell that the Giant King was throwing a massive temper tantrum, likely spewing a stream of insults. Gu Zinner tilted her head. Hey, you little punk, is he cursing you out? Fang Chen laughed. Far from it. He's actually admiring my style. He basically said he wishes we'd met sooner. If it weren't for the war, he'd be inviting me for a drink and calling me his long-lost brother. Gu Zinner rolled her eyes. You have no shame. Step outside and prove it. Then maybe I'll believe your lies. Fang Chen pinched her cheek, annoyed. Stop talking. You have zero self-awareness for someone who's basically just cannon fodder. Gu Zinner slapped his hand away, rubbing her stinging cheek. She fumed. You little punk, that's another thing I'm adding to your death warrant. Bakesin cut them off. Don't get comfortable, we aren't safe yet. She looked toward the elder Asura and Shan Feng's group. Fang Chen's expression turned serious. They had escaped the Giant King, but they had just walked into a den of strangers, whose intentions were still a mystery. "Everyone, get behind me." Gu Zinner immediately dropped the act and scurried over, grabbing the edge of his robe, ready to bolt at a moment's notice. Baeksin and Vajra Fayin joined them instantly. The two sides stood in a tense standoff once more. "Wait, don't worry," Shan Feng said quickly. He turned to the elder Asura and explained everything. "If it weren't for these friends from the Central Plains saving me twice, your grandson would be dead by now." Upon hearing that Shan Feng had been ambushed, a sharp glint flashed in the elder's eyes, quickly replaced by a warm, welcoming smile. "I am Ming Yi, the stronghold master of the Black Cloud stronghold. Since you saved my grandson, you are honored guests of the Black Cloud stronghold. Please follow me. We will provide you with the best hospitality we can offer." Seeing Fang Chen and the others hesitate, Ming Yi added, "You're here to gather intel on the Heaven Realm, aren't you? The Black Cloud stronghold has been rooted here for a century. We know a thing or two. If you have questions, I will tell you everything I know, down to the last detail." Fang Chen's eyes lit up. Who would know the Heaven Realm better than a local? He used Silent Zen to relay the situation to the others through a mental message. He warned them, "Stay on guard. Gu Zinner, don't touch their food or water." Gu Zinner blinked, then huffed. "Why are you only warning me? You make it sound like I'm some glutton who just eats whatever she sees." Ignoring her complaints, Fang Chen grabbed her arm and looked at Ming Yi. "Then we'll take you up on that offer. Thank you for the hospitality." "Think nothing of it. This way, please," Ming Yi said warmly. He cast a wary glance up at the ancient giant looming over the Black Cloud stronghold in a silent, vengeful vigil. Ming Yi led the group deep into the heart of the Black Cloud stronghold. The entire island had been hollowed out, with immortals' abodes carved into every available surface. Dozens of Asura Clan members dressed in rags peeked out from their dwellings to watch them pass. Most were gaunt and thin, nothing like the hulking warriors common to their race. It was clear that life in the Black Cloud stronghold was a struggle. At the very bottom level sat a hollow, stout stone cavern spanning nearly 100 yards across. This was the Grand Hall of Black Cloud Stronghold. Whenever the Stronghold hosted VIPs or held critical meetings, it all happened right here. "Please have a seat." Ming Yi took his place at the Patriarch's seat. Flanking him were several exquisite chairs carved from solid black jade. Without a second thought, Gu Zinner plopped right down into one. Baeksin and Vajra Fayin quickly followed suit. Fang Chen eyed the black jade chair with mild surprise, a flicker of suspicion crossing his mind. After a brief pause, he gently set Song Lingyu down and took a seat himself, his expression unreadable. A warm, grandfatherly smile spread across Ming Yi's face. "To our 5 benefactors, you saved my grandson. Black Cloud Stronghold owes you a massive debt. Therefore, I'd like to ask for one final favor act as bait to lure away the Giant King." He delivered the words with a smile, but the sheer audacity of the request made everyone's blood run cold. Before anyone could react, the black jade chairs erupted with spatial light, completely engulfing them. It was the exact same mechanism as Yi Banxia's jade, carved phoenix chair. The jade, carved phoenix chair possessed a secondary function, instant teleportation. It was designed to warp them straight out of Black Cloud Stronghold. Fang Chen's gaze turned icy. "Black Cloud Stronghold Master, you are digging your own grave." Fang Chen's gaze turned icy. "Black Cloud Stronghold Master, you are digging your own grave." Ming Yi remained perfectly composed. "Clearly, you'll be dying long before I do," he replied breezily. He tapped a finger against his armrest. A palm-sized array slowly materialized, pulsing with a faint, eerie glow. With a single thought to trigger the array, Fang Chen and his crew would be instantly warped outside. The sudden betrayal caught even young Master Shan Feng totally off guard. "Grandpa, what are you doing?" he cried out. He stared in absolute disbelief. Not only did Fang Chen's group save his life, they shared a common enemy. Biting the hand that literally just fed them, what was his grandfather thinking? Ming Yi shot him a cool, detached look. "You don't think they deserve to die?" "I can't think of a single reason why they should," Shan Feng shot back, his voice thick with tension. Ming Yi threw his hands up in mock surrender. "Fine, I don't want to go down in history as an ungrateful backstabber either. Let's summon the 10 clan elders and put it to a vote." The stronghold was small enough that it took less than an incense stick's time for the 10 clan elders to assemble before the Grand Hall. "And that is the situation." Ming Yi paced with his hands clasped behind his back, his voice grim. "The Giant King is practically breathing down our necks." Tossing them out as peace offerings is the only way to earn his forgiveness. If you agree to hand them over, stand beside me. If you disagree, stand with the young master. You have 10 breaths of time to make your choice. The senior figures of Black Cloud's stronghold immediately began taking sides. A wave of profound relief washed over Shanfeng at the final tally. Only one solitary figure had crossed over to stand beside Ming Yi. Stronghold master, you're out of your mind. To the ancient giants, we're nothing more than livestock waiting to be slaughtered. What makes you think sacrificing these people from the Central Plains will somehow grant us a free pass? Our only real shot is to join forces with them. That's the only way Black Cloud survives. Seriously, Stronghold Master, has your age finally rotted your brain? Ming Yi found himself facing a brutal, unanimous dressing down from the 9 clan elders. He let out a helpless, bitter chuckle and turned to his sole supporter, Clan Elder Defeng. It looks like you're the only one willing to throw them to the wolves. Clan Elder Defeng was a man in his 40s, right in the absolute prime of his life. His expression was rock solid. I trust the Stronghold Master's judgment. You must have a damn good reason for making this call. Ming Yi nodded slowly. Good. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth, but for the survival of Black Cloud Stronghold, they have to go. You do the honors of playing the bad guy. Go ahead, do the honors. Without a word, Clan Elder Defeng stepped up to the Patriarch's armrest. He didn't hesitate for a second before reaching out to trigger the array. But a split second later, an agonizing, tearing sensation exploded in his chest. He looked down. An aged, wrinkled hand was protruding straight through his ribcage. The shock and agony robbed Clan Elder Defeng of his voice. Choking on his own blood, he painstakingly craned his neck to look behind him. The one who had impaled him was Stronghold Master Ming Yi. Are you crazy? His mind spun violently, completely failing to grasp why the Stronghold Master was murdering him. Ming Yi violently ripped his hand back. His weathered face was twisted in disgust. Even my grandson knows better than to murder these people from the Central Plains. Keeping them alive brings nothing but absolute benefits to Black Cloud Stronghold. And yet you, a clan elder, somehow missed that memo. The last ounce of life drained from Clan Elder Defeng's eyes, and his lifeless body crumpled in a heap on the cold stone floor. He wheezed, his voice thin and trembling. I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I was just following the Stronghold Master's orders without question. Is loyalty a crime now? Ming Yi ground his heel into the man's chest, the force making him cough up a spray of blood. His eyes flared with a lethal coldness. Cut the act. If you had an ounce of care for Black Cloud Stronghold, you would never have led them to their deaths, unless you were looking to sell them out to the Giant King, hoping to suck up to the ancient giants and earn some reward. The sudden twist left everyone reeling. Shanfeng stood frozen, stammering, Grandpa, are you saying Clan Elder Defeng is a mole for the ancient giants? Ming Yi narrowed his weathered eyes. Our plan to flee to the Central Land Realm was a secret known only to me and the 10 elders. Yet the 9-Aperture Giants managed a perfect ambush on the exact island we had to pass. There was an informant. I staged this little drama just to smoke him out. With that, he knelt and ripped open Clan Elder Defeng's robes. He uncorked a vial of blood from an ancient giant and let a drop fall onto the elder's chest. The blood reacted instantly, squirming across his skin like it was alive, until it formed the character for stone. An uproar erupted among the people of Black Cloud Stronghold, the totem of the stone giant tribe. Any creature bearing that mark is recognized by the ancient giants and spared from the slaughter. It's the ultimate pass to survive the hunt. The ugly truth was out. Clan Elder Defeng had betrayed his own kind just to secure a hunting exemption from the giants. Master, please. I was forced. I never wanted to sell out the stronghold. You have to believe me. Defeng cried out, his face turning a ghostly white as he begged for mercy. Without a hint of hesitation, Ming Yi's foot crashed through the man's chest, crushing his heart. If you choose to be a lapdog for the ancient giants, don't you dare claim to be innocent. He turned back toward Fang Chen and the others, releasing the spatial power that bound them. He gave a respectful cupped fist salute. Friends from the Central Plains, I offer my deepest apologies. The mole was embedded deep within us. I had to let you endure that small indignity to flush the snake out of its hole. I hope you can forgive this old man's desperate tactics. He offered a warm, grandfatherly apology, a complete 180-degree turn from the cold, blooded executioner he had been moments ago. Fang Chen's expression remained frosty. Acting without warning is a dangerous game. You should be glad I have a long fuse. Otherwise, your stronghold would be a river of blood by now. Ming Yi stroked his beard and chuckled. Oh. You mean to say you actually had the strength left to fight back? His voice carried a hint of pride in his own methods, mixed with a playful jab at how easily the group had been captured. Look up, Fang Chen said flatly. Ming Yi glanced at the ceiling and froze. Perched on a rafter was a reddish, brown little spirit beast with watery eyes, casually dangling a small stone carving from its mouth. The carving hummed with a power so terrifying it made Ming Yi, a Nine-Aperture Asura, feel a chill in his soul. A soul transformation strike, he hissed, his pupils shrinking in shock. Fang Chen stood up slowly and gestured. The little Kilin leaped onto his shoulder, returning the stone carving to his hand. If you had actually tried to teleport us against our will, this strike would have been my parting gift to Black Cloud's stronghold. Ming Yi swallowed hard, a cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. He had truly underestimated this youth from the Central Plains. Not only had the boy sensed the trap with the chairs, but he was also packing a soul transformation strike. If that had gone off, the stronghold would have collapsed, and the survivors would have been easy pickings for the Giant King. It would have been a total genocide. I was too reckless, he stammered, his voice shaking with the realization. I'm grateful you saw through my intent, or the consequences would have been unthinkable. All traces of condescension vanished. The teenager before him possessed a monstrous level of insight and the ruthless means to back it up. He scrambled to make amends. What are you all standing around for? Bring out the finest food and wine in the stronghold. We must feast our benefactors. Fang Chen waved him off. Don't bother. We just have a few questions, then we're gone. He looked around at the gaunt, emaciated people of the stronghold. It was clear they barely had enough to survive, let alone throw a feast. But when the table was finally set, Fang Chen was speechless. The platters were piled high with spiritual fruits, vegetables, and exotic meats he'd never seen before. Most of these resources were as potent as a high-grade spirit pill for someone in the core formation realm. Some could even boost a Nascent Soul realm expert's cultivation. If an early or mid-stage Nascent Soul ate like this daily, they'd jump an entire cultivation realm in a month. Gu Zinner's eyes practically turned into gold coins. If they brought this haul back to the Central Plains, they'd be set for life. Venerable was equally stunned. They had both assumed the stronghold was starving, but the reality was the exact opposite. Fang Chen looked at Ming Yi. Master Ming Yi, this feast must have been a massive burden on your supplies. Ming Yi, sharp as ever, saw right through him. He raised his arm, and a wisp of pure Yin-Kai swirled around his hand. We Asurans need Yin-Kai to thrive. These spirit-rich foods are legendary to you Central Land denizens, but to us, they're just basic scraps to keep our stomachs from growling. Fang Chen realized the truth. Just as yin, heavy crops were staples in the infernal realm, they were toxic to humans over time. These spirit crops were likely useless to the Asurans. His mind started racing with a potential plan, but now wasn't the time. I appreciate the hospitality. There are things I need to understand. Ming Yi nodded. Having expected this, Fang Chen got straight to the point. Why was that Giant King afraid to step foot inside your stronghold? Do you have a hidden deity transformation realm expert? Or some kind of deterrent? Ming Yi gave a knowing look. He had prepared for this. Neither. It's the law. He pointed up at the 9 suns burning in the sky. I've heard your Central Plains world was shaped by 9 ancient saints who established the order of your world. Fang Chen nodded. It was true the peace between the great provinces was maintained by invisible, absolute rules. He felt a spark of realization. You're saying? Ming Yi cut him off with a nod. Exactly. The Southern Heaven Realm has its own creator. While different from your ancient saints, this being also set laws here. One of those laws is that except during specific periods, no giant may step foot inside a settlement. If that Giant King had dared to throw a single punch into this village, the heavenly laws would have descended and erased him from existence. Fang Chen felt a jolt of shock, but he didn't doubt the words. He had seen it before. You, a Zin, had nearly had her remnant soul shattered just for speaking out of turn about the infernal realm's master. He had also felt the gaze of that ancient saint watching him, a heavenly might so vast it was beyond comprehension. To a creator of that scale, snuffing out a Venerable would be as easy as flicking a speck of dust. He looked puzzled, but why would the creator of the Southern Heaven Realm protect you? Protect us. A look of bitter sorrow washed over Ming Yi's aged face. When humans raise cattle or sheep, they drive away the wolves. Do they do that because they want to protect the animals? No, they do it so they have more meat to eat at the end of the year. Fang Chen's eyes widened, his voice dropping to a low hum. You're saying you're being kept safe just so you can breed. Ming Yi sighed, looking up at the sky. Every soul from the infernal realm trapped here, except for those few who buy their way out, is nothing more than livestock for the ancient giants. Once every 100 years, the giants are allowed a 1-month hunting season. That month is the darkest time for every stronghold in this realm. Fang Chen was stunned. These hellish beings weren't just in a different realm, they were living in a literal, perpetual hell, waiting for the slaughter. For a moment, he found himself at a total loss for words. Ming Yi, however, let out a dry chuckle, breaking the heavy silence. We've grown used to it. This is the fate of any creature from the infernal realm who ends up here. Fang Chen's curiosity flared again. But why are you even in the heaven realm? If I understand the map correctly, the Central Plains world sits right between the infernal and heaven realms. How did you even get here? Ming Yi stroked his beard, falling into deep thought. After a long silence, he frowned. That is a story that goes back a very, very long time. I heard my grandfather mention it once. He said, supposedly, in the ancient eras, the Central Plains world didn't exist. There was only the infernal realm and the heaven realm, locked in an endless, bloody war. Eventually, our infernal realm achieved total victory and conquered the heaven realm. But for some unknown reason, both realms suddenly descended into catastrophic chaos. What the infernal realm has become today is anyone's guess. As for the heaven realm, that cataclysm shattered it into 4 separate domains: the east, west, south, and north. It was during this exact era of chaos that 9 ancient saints of the human race made their move. Striking while both worlds were in turmoil, they severed a piece of heaven and earth from each, forging the central land realm. Ming Yi paused, shooting Fang Chen a rather peculiar look. The implication was clear: a chunk of the central land realm had essentially been stolen from their infernal realm. Fang Chen felt like he had just been slammed by a tidal wave of history. His head was spinning. To think this was the true origin of the central land realm. It took him a long time to steady himself and digest this earth-shattering revelation. So you guys are the descendants of the expeditionary force that failed to retreat to the infernal realm in time. Ming Yi slowly nodded. That finally solved a mystery that had been bugging Fang Chen for a while. But another thought quickly surfaced. He brought up the disturbing rumor he'd heard from Shan Feng, his tone turning heavy. Are the ancient giants really mutated from your hellish beings? If that were true, the implications were absolutely terrifying. The Black Cloud stronghold alone had 6 Asuras above the mid-stage Nascent Soul realm. Any of them could potentially morph into ancient giants. And strongholds like that were a dime a dozen. If even 1,000 ancient giants were spawned this way, every single faction, except maybe the Three Spirits sect, would be instantly wiped off the map. Throw in the fact that the ancient giants had been stockpiling their forces for a millennium, hoarding an army of unknown numbers. Was this war even winnable? Ming Yi stroked his beard. You're wondering how the ancient giants were born, aren't you? The origin of the very first ancient giants is lost to history. But it's widely accepted that during the Great War between the 2 realms, they didn't exist. They were creatures that violently burst onto the scene right after the Heaven Realm's cataclysm. Some say the creator of the Heaven Realm, unwilling to accept defeat, sacrificed their own soul to unleash a curse that would punish all invaders. Others theorize they were alien beings who opportunistically invaded during the chaos. And there are even those who suspect they are dark, malicious spirits drawn in by your central land realm. He locked eyes with Fang Chen, his voice grim. Whatever they are, the moment they appeared, they conquered the southern heaven realm. Every living thing became their prey. If their supreme entity hadn't replaced the creator of the southern heaven realm and established a rule for a centennial hunt, we descendants of the hellish beings would have been driven to extinction long ago. Fang Chen sank into deep thought. The origin of the ancient giants remained completely shrouded in mystery. Frowning, he asked, but Shan Feng mentioned that you guys couldn't escape the fate of becoming ancient giants either. What does that mean? Ming Yi let out a bitter sigh. That nightmare started 1,000 years ago. A millennium ago, the war with the ancient giants reignited, the same war that nearly wiped out your central land realm. The ancient giants suffered massive casualties. Their ranks were severely depleted. Just as the remnants of our hellish beings thought, we finally had a chance to mount a full-scale counterattack and overthrow their reign. A massive earthquake tore through the entire southern heaven realm, and at the epicenter of that quake, an ancient sinkhole emerged. He paused, letting out a long, heavy breath. I don't know if it was the will of heaven or something engineered. But fate refused to let the ancient giants die. Inside that ancient sinkhole was a pool of mysterious, bloody water. If they threw us hellish beings into it, there was a chance we'd be mutated into ancient giants. The results were practically identical to the normal ancient giants. The only difference was that their cultivation bases were permanently locked at the exact moment of transformation. They could never grow stronger. Leveraging the ancient sinkhole, the ancient giants rapidly replenished their numbers. Not only did they survive extinction, they actually surpassed their former peak. He looked at Fang Chen, his eyes filled with a trace of pity. This time, I'm afraid your central land realm doesn't stand a chance. The ancient giants of today are unfathomably stronger than they were 1,000 years ago. Fang Chen's gaze grew heavy, just as the ancient giants are at their weakest, an ancient sinkhole appears. And the hellish beings who enter it, by some coincidence, are all transformed into ancient giants, instead of any other species. This isn't fate, there is an unknown entity helping the ancient giants from the shadows. How many ancient giants make up their army in the southern heaven realm right now? Fang Chen asked, pressing for the one answer he needed most. Ming Yi replied, 10,000. If you spread them across the 9 provinces of Middle Earth, that's about 1,000 soldiers per province. Fang Chen frowned and looked at Baeksin. Commander Bai, do we have a count of the warriors in taking Grand Province at the mid-stage Nascent Soul realm or above? Baeksin didn't hesitate. If the numbers reported by the sects 6 months ago were honest, the 100+ sects in taking have a combined total of about 500 warriors at the mid-stage Nascent Soul realm or higher. Fang Chen's face paled. Only that many? That shouldn't be right. I've seen the giant family's 8-aperture Nascent Soul experts, and they had over a dozen. By that logic, the number of 7-aperture Nascent Soul and 6-aperture Nascent Soul experts should be even higher, at least 70 or 80. Factor in the 3 spirits sect and the 7 great cults, which are just as strong as the giant family. And you're telling me we can't even find 1,000 mid-stage Nascent Soul experts? Baeksin remained calm. 60 years ago, that math would hold up, but you're forgetting that the hellish desolate beasts appeared 60 years ago. Back then, taking Grand Province predicted the ancient giants would return. Every sect funneled their most precious resources into their strongest warriors, hoping to forge a Venerable before the Great Tribulation hit. That's why there was a sudden surge of 8-aperture Nascent Soul experts. Warriors at other levels didn't get that support, so their numbers don't reflect the elite count. Fang Chen was stunned. I almost forgot, the hellish desolate beast appeared 60 years ago. It was only kept in check because the Tiger Demon Emperor suppressed it. He thought about it. Whether it was the sanctuary of myriad tribulations, Mount Sanking, or the giant family, he had never seen more than 2 7-aperture Nascent Soul experts in a single power. Even the 5-aperture Nascent Soul, Venerable Bei Yu, was once considered a renowned powerhouse. It was clear that the mid-stage Nascent Soul realm was far rarer than Fang Chen had imagined. Baeksin asked, did you manage to get any intel? Fang Chen said, the known army of ancient giants in the southern heaven realm is over 10,000 strong. Baeksin's finger twitched. Despite her usual unflappable nature, the sheer disparity of power shocked her. She whispered, we're in trouble. Fang Chen's voice was grim. Trouble? It's hopeless. Ancient giants are immune to divine abilities and spells. That alone makes them far superior to any Central Plains warrior of the same rank. Add their massive numerical advantage, and the fact that our Nine-Aperture and 8-aperture Nascent Soul experts are prone to losing their minds overall. At the Nascent Soul level, we're destined to lose. Thinking of this, Fang Chen asked again, what about the Giant King? How many are there in the Southern Heaven realm? Ming Yi shook his head. Hard to say. The Southern Heaven realm is split into 9 regions. Each region is guarded by a different number of Giant Kings. The Black Sun Royal Court is the region that attacked your taking Grand Province last time. From what I know, they have 10 Giant Kings, including 1 5-star Giant King. Fang Chen's heart sank even further. Taikang had only a few Venerables, the famous 3 deity transformations, and 1 Bodhisattva, the Grand Libationer of the Directorate of Astronomy. The Giant family's mysterious war corpse and the red-faced old man from the fire worship cult, even counting them all, that was only 7. And the red-faced old man wasn't even from Taikang, he might not be willing to die for it. In contrast, the Black Sun Royal Court had 10. One of them was a 5-star giant who had defeated the 3 deity transformations and 1 bodhisattva and beaten Venerable Mantra so badly he lost his memory and his divine halo. He had rarely felt despair, not even when 200 men faced 10,000 corpses in the Boundary Mountains. But now the weight of it was suffocating. Whether at the Nascent Soul level or the Venerable level, they had 0 chance of winning. Ming Yi's eyes flickered. Taking doesn't need to be so pessimistic. I have a way that might just help you. Fang Chen looked up, forcing himself to focus. Go on, Stronghold Master. Ming Yi said, my grandson is only a 3-aperture Asura, yet he was hunted by 9-aperture giants and even a giant king. Didn't you find that strange? Fang Chen immediately recalled the giant king, saying Shan Feng had stolen something from them. Please tell me everything. Ming Yi's eyes shone with intensity. My grandson was once captured by the ancient giants and thrown into an ancient sinkhole. Usually when hellish beings go in, they either successfully transform into ancient giants or they melt into blood. Fang Chen looked at the perfectly normal Shan Feng in disbelief. Then how is he okay? Ming Yi replied, it dates back to the human race's last battle at the royal court. While scouting for intel, my grandson found a hidden underground secret chamber in the royal court ruins, likely left by the heavenly realm folk of old. Despite the eons that have passed, the chamber was intact, and inside was a sacred crystal that emitted a faint, holy light. It was because of this crystal that he survived the ancient sinkhole. Fang Chen stroked his chin in thought. Even if that's true, how does that help the Central Plains? Ming Yi's gaze turned profound. Besides him, over a dozen others were thrown in. One of them had already transformed into an ancient giant, but under the crystal's influence, they actually reverted back into a hellish being. Fang Chen bolted upright. No wonder the giant king personally hunted Shan Feng. This thing could literally cut the ancient giants off at the root. Ming Yi smiled. If you use these crystals properly, you can force at least half of the ancient giants back to their original forms. Once they are hellish beings again, most will flee rather than follow orders. Even loyal dogs like Clan Elder Defeng would be far less of a threat without their massive giant bodies. At the Nascent Soul level, you'd actually have a chance to fight. Fang Chen's eyes brightened, his breath hitching slightly, but he kept his composure. You wouldn't just hand it over for free, Stronghold Master. What's the catch? Ming Yi laughed heartily, not hiding his agenda. I have 2 conditions. First, I want you to lead us to the sky-touching Black Pillar. I don't believe that nonsense about it being sealed. The Central Plains wouldn't send you here to die for no reason. Fang Chen nodded slightly. I'll consider it. He didn't reveal that the sky-touching Black Pillar was currently on his back. Stronghold Master Ming Yi was as ruthless as he was clever. It was best to keep him at arm's length until the very end. Ming Yi's eyes lit up. He knew the sky-touching Black Pillar was still an option. The second condition, I need you to come with me to the Black Sun Royal Court. There's a sacred relic there that was stolen from my Black Cloud stronghold. Shan Feng's lips parted as if to speak. He wanted to object, but Ming Yi cut him off with a warning look. Fang Chen frowned. A place guarded by a 5-star giant king? You can't be serious. If he shows his face, we won't even have a chance to run. Before a being like that, we might not even escape in time, even with the sky-touching Black Pillar. Ming Yi offered a cupped fist salute. Rest assured. Our Black Cloud stronghold is depending on you to get us into the Central Plains for refuge. We wouldn't dare lead you into a death trap. I've already scouted the area. The 5-star giant king isn't at the Black Sun Royal Court. Only a cloud giant is guarding it. If we're careful, nothing will go wrong. Fang Chen and Baekson quickly discussed the massive disparity in their forces and the existence of the sacred crystal. Baekson nodded. Let's do it. Even without the sacred crystal, we need to scout the Black Sun Royal Court's army ourselves. We can't rely on their word alone for intelligence. Vajraphayan added, if the sacred crystal can save so many lives, then a journey into the lion's den is a worthy risk. Gu Zinner blurted out, I'm going too. Me too. Fang Chen's eyes flickered. You're staying behind. I have another important mission for you. He turned back to Ming Yi. Stronghold Master, we've decided to go with you to the Black Sun Royal Court. But before we leave, I have another deal to propose. Before we depart the Southern Heaven Realm, I want you and your clansmen to gather as many local resources as possible. Ming Yi frowned. Venturing out was dangerous. Encountering ancient giants meant certain death. He wasn't inclined to help. Until Fang Chen pulled out a massive, pitch-black radish, radiating an incredible amount of yin kai. The moment it appeared, the Asura Clan members in the Black Cloud stronghold sensed it. It was as if humans had found a legendary treasure overflowing with spiritual energy. They swarmed out from every shadow, surrounding Fang Chen with hunger in their eyes. Even Ming Yi was shocked. Yin kai vegetables. His ancient eyes glinted with excitement. How many more do you have? I'll trade you for them. Fang Chen replied, 1 carrot for 10 feasts like this. 10 feasts? Ming Yi's lip twitched. What a ruthless negotiator. But then he remembered that everyone from the Black Cloud stronghold would soon be following them to the Central Land Realm. What use were the nearby resources then? He gave the order at once. You heard him. Everyone, get ready. Once that giant king outside leaves, we're stripping this land bare of every spirit, infused item within 1,000 miles. Fang Chen gave Gu Zinner her instructions, and her eyes lit up like gold coins. She nodded furiously. Yes, yes, leave it to me. When it comes to making money, I'm your girl. I promise I won't be greedy. Fang Chen's temple throbbed at that completely unnecessary addition. Is this girl turning into a ruthless profiteer? She used to be so well behaved. Who's been the bad influence here? Shaking his head, he looked up to see the Giant King still standing guard above. A smirk played on Fang Chen's lips as he took out the blood-stained burlap sack. Looks like he's not ready to give up just yet. Stronghold Master, what do you think is inside? Mingyi eyed the squirming sack with apprehension. It must be some prey this Giant King captured. Judging by the shape, it's either some kind of massive insect or a snake. A knowing smile touched Fang Chen's lips. If it were any other kind of vicious beast, he might have to be cautious. But these two things, they were the Grand Rooster's specialty. He tried lifting the blood-stained pouch to his chest. Sure enough, an intense heat flared up from within him. The Grand Rooster's battle lust had been triggered. He leaped to the edge of the black cloud stronghold, dangled the blood-stained pouch, and made a show of opening it. The Stone Giant King's vertical eye blazed with fury. It roared, "You open that, I dare you." That's what it showed on the surface, but a hint of mockery flashed deep within its vertical eye. Inside that sack was a rare venomous snake, one whose poison could kill even a Giant King. His earlier rage when Fang Chen had snatched it wasn't because he wanted the snake, but because he was terrified the Asura Clan would get their hands on it and use it as a weapon against the ancient giants. Never in his wildest dreams did he imagine Fang Chen would be so eager to court death and open it himself. That venomous snake was a Nine-Aperture level existence. There was no way Fang Chen could handle it. A single bite, and he'd be dead from the poison in seconds. Of course, Fang Chen knew the giant was using reverse psychology, which just proved how dangerous the snake in the blood-stained pouch truly was. But he had the Grand Rooster. If it could handle the ice dragon in the listening snow sword, there was no way it couldn't deal with a mere venomous snake. He didn't call the giant's bluff. Instead, he ripped open the blood-stained pouch. A dare, fine by me, what's the big deal? As the sack opened, a blur shot out with incredible speed, aiming straight for Fang Chen's shoulder. The Stone Giant King sneered, "You fool, you dare to open my hunting sack. You fell right into my trap." Cock-a-doodle-doo, the next moment, a 5. Colored light erupted from Fang Chen's chest, accompanied by a resounding crow. A spectral 5. Colored Grand Rooster emerged, wings spread and head held high. It swiped a talon at the streaking blur. Only then was the creature's form revealed a sharp-headed black snake with red spots. It was only a foot long, but its body was so tough that the Grand Rooster's claw failed to pierce its scales. Instead, the snake's head snapped up. It opened its mouth, revealing 2 fangs dripping with green venom, and lunged for the Grand Rooster's leg. But the Grand Rooster was faster, pecking with lethal precision and blinding one of its eyes. The small black snake writhed in pain and coiled into a defensive posture, but the rooster pressed its attack. The bird and snake fought for a good 10 minutes. The battle was finally over. The small black snake lay motionless on the ground, its neck pecked nearly in 2, head hanging on by a single flap of skin. The Grand Rooster had plucked out its snake gallbladder. It was as dead could be. Mingyi was dumbfounded. The dark night black snake is just dead. Even I wouldn't have been completely confident in taking that thing on. Gu Zinner's eyes were wide. Talk about a natural predator. A Nine-Aperture venomous snake, pecked to death just like that. She recalled the life or death struggle when they all had to work together just to kill a single one of the Nine-Aperture Giants. Yet this Grand Rooster had killed its opponent in a matter of minutes. The gap in power made her feel like she was less capable than a chicken. Outside, the Stone Giant King's eyes were dark and stormy. It glared at Fang Chen, its hatred now permanently etched. "Member of the human race, do you dare to state your name?" Fang Chen slapped his chest. "I am who I am. The name is Wang Changsu, from the Central Plains." The Stone Giant King's voice was frigid. "Good, Wang Changsu is it. When I descend upon the Central Plains, the very first thing I'll do is find you. I'll make you experience the despair of having nowhere to hide in this vast world." It ground its teeth and stomped its foot. An explosive force launched it into the distance. Fang Chen flew back, glanced at the dead black snake on the ground, and thought nothing more of it. But then he noticed something odd. Mingyi was pretending to look elsewhere, but his gaze kept darting back to the black snake, as if there was something valuable on it he didn't want to mention. Just then Xianfeng rushed over, urgently reminding him, "Brother Wang, quick, take the poison fangs and extract the venom." That's the most venomous snake in the entire southern heaven realm. Even a giant king would fear it. Hearing this, Mingyi secretly clenched his fists. That idiot had to go and remind them. The people from the Central Plains had no idea how precious this snake was. He shot Shen Feng a look of utter disappointment. Fang Chen was stunned. Even a giant king is afraid of it, but it's just a Nine-Aperture level snake. He found it hard to believe. A Nine-Aperture Nascent Soul cultivator facing a giant king would be like an ant facing an elephant. Utterly incapable of posing any threat. Shan Feng said excitedly, "I'm not lying. The Dark Knight Black Snake is one of the very few things that can counter the ancient giants. This snake's venom has a completely different effect on the Asura Clan and the ancient giants, even if they're at the same cultivation realm. If it bit one of our Asura king, they'd probably just feel a bit unwell. But if it bit a giant king, they would drop dead on the spot." Fang Chen was completely astonished. The ancient giants, who were immune to so many divine abilities and spells, were somehow vulnerable to the venom of a Dark Knight Black Snake. He immediately took out a jade vial, preparing to extract the poison from the snake's fangs. He was cautious, not approaching the head directly. Instead, he circled to the side and used his purple sword to press down on its head. But the moment the blade touched it, the snake's head sprang back to life, dragging its nearly severed body in a final, desperate lunge. But before it could get far, a single talon slammed it back to the ground. It was the 5-colored Grand Rooster. Fang Chen laughed. "Thanks, Brother Rooster." The 5-colored Grand Rooster puffed out its chest, let out a few proud crows, and then transformed into a single feather that flew back into his chest. Only then did Fang Chen approach the snake's head, carefully squeezing the green venom from the poison fangs into his jade vial. "If I coat a Dharma artifact with a bit of this," he mused, "a single scratch would be instantly lethal to one of the ancient giants." "Are there many of these snakes?" Fang Chen asked, sealing the jade vial with a hopeful look in his eyes. If he could bring some back to raise and store enough of their venom, the Central Plains would have another powerful weapon against the ancient giants. Shan Feng shook his head. "It's a unique species that counters the ancient giants. Do you really think they would let it exist in this world? They've been hunted to near extinction. Finding even one is a miracle. A Nine-Aperture Dark Knight snake like this one, if not truly unique, is exceedingly rare." Fang Chen frowned with a touch of regret. Those ancient giants were truly despicable. Now that the Stone Giant King had left, it was time for them to make their move. "Stronghold Master, could we borrow a secret chamber for my friend to rest?" Ming, you recall the woman in elegant robes who had been sleeping soundly. Without a hint of suspicion, he immediately arranged a secret chamber for them. Fang Chen carefully laid down Song Lingyu, then placed the sky-touching black pillar nearby. Their journey to the Black Sun Royal Court would be fraught with danger. If they were to fall there, the sky-touching black pillar would be left behind, undoubtedly jeopardizing the other reconnaissance teams. Leaving the sky-touching black pillar in the stronghold, a place inaccessible to the ancient giants, was undoubtedly the safest option. Deputy Pavilion Master Gu, keep a close watch on the sky-touching black pillar and don't let anyone from Black Cloud Stronghold discover it. If any of our Central Plains compatriots teleport into the secret chamber, tell them to descend quickly and not to linger. This stronghold, Master Ming, he is far too cunning. We need to be wary of him. Gu Zinner nodded, her expression serious. "I understand." With their fallback plan arranged, Fang Chen joined the others outside. "Stronghold Master, are we truly going directly to the Black Sun Royal Court? If we encounter any ancient giants, won't they immediately discover us?" Mingyi understood Fang Chen's meaning and gave a wry smile. "You want to obtain an ancient giant totem like Clan Elder Defeng and gain immunity from capture? Forget it. That requires a giant king to use a source star, along with their ability to imprint the ancient giant totem, to bestow a totem upon someone else. Do you really think you can summon a giant king to help you?" Fang Chen rubbed his chin, falling into thought. "A giant king? I actually might be able to summon one." Inside his spatial storage artifact lay the reborn body of the Cold Mountain Giant King, and its source star was also in his possession. It wasn't impossible to imprint a totem for everyone. But unless absolutely necessary, he didn't want to expose either of those two items. "Let's reach the Black Sun Royal Court first," he said. The group set off immediately, departing from Black Cloud Stronghold. Fang Chen walked at the rear, thoughtfully asking Stronghold Master how much time remains until your 100-year deadline. Stronghold Master Ming Yi, leading the way, became slightly wary. "Why do you ask?" Fang Chen simply said, "Just answer the question." Stronghold Master Ming Yi hesitated for a moment. 1 month from now. "If not for the urgency, I wouldn't have risked sending our children to seek refuge in your Central Plains," he added, sounding concerned. "Young friend." I am genuinely cooperating with you. I hope you won't make things difficult for us. It turned out he was worried that revealing Black Cloud Stronghold's predicament would allow Fang Chen to exploit their situation and extort them. Fang Chen's mind was far from such schemes. He was thinking of how to use the rule that ancient giants couldn't enter the stronghold to avert war. As long as the 100-year deadline hadn't arrived, keeping the sky-touching black pillar within the stronghold would prevent the ancient giants from descending. He sighed lightly. Stronghold Master, you're overthinking things. He then took out a small tower, injecting spiritual energy to continuously activate it. The environments they passed through along the way were all being recorded within. Vajraphayan looked puzzled. Benefactor Fang, are you mapping the southern heaven realm? What is the purpose of this? Fang Chen said, his voice firm. Once we return to the central plains, I intend to relocate the sky-touching black pillar, finding an entrance for the ancient giants even more troublesome than Chaos Lake. I hope it can alleviate the pressure on taking Grand Province. Vajraphayan realized, nodding. Benefactor Fang is truly thorough in his considerations. He couldn't wait for Fang Chen to return and immediately move the sky-touching black pillar somewhere else. That would significantly alleviate the pressure on White Horse Temple. After a brief thought, he took out a golden bowl, which was filled with a faint golden liquid imbued with Buddhist radiance. Mirror, reflect the world's dust. My spirit, soar with the distant winds. The golden liquid rippled, sending waves of light radiating out from the bowl and projecting into the distance. Wherever the ripples passed, all sights and objects were drawn into the golden bowl. It created an overhead view centered on the four of them. As it spread further outwards, their figures grew smaller and smaller with the rising perspective, shrinking until they resembled 4 tiny specks of dust. The range reflected by the golden bowl now spanned at least 10,000 miles, far wider than the area recorded by Realm Lord Wangxiankong's small tower. Vajraphayan handed the golden bowl to Fang Chen. Benefactor Fang, use this for your mapping. Fang Chen couldn't help but marvel at White Horse Temple's profound heritage. The golden bowl's capabilities almost rivaled the heaven, monitoring mirror itself. Thanks, he said, taking the golden bowl. A swarm of tiny black dots appeared in the bowl, packed densely, numbering more than a dozen. Fang Chen was startled. Are those ancient giants or hellish beings? They've changed direction and are coming towards us. Ming Yi identified their direction. Don't worry. Judging by their approach, they must be the Asura Clan from Wang's stronghold. They belong to the fragrance, consuming lineage of Asura, whose sense of smell is beyond extraordinary. It must be one of you whose unique scent has attracted their attention. They can smell it even from thousands of miles away. Fang Chen sniffed his sleeve. I haven't bathed in a few months, but I don't smell that bad. Fayan, is it you who hasn't bathed in a year? Vajraphayan calmly replied, this humble monk cleanses his spirit with Buddhist Dharma daily. Fang Chen then looked at Baeksin. Commander Bai, how long has it been since your last bath? Baeksin turned to him, her gaze direct. You really want to know? Asking a lady about her bathing habits was perhaps a tad too reckless. Both parties maintained their speed, continuing their journey, and eventually converged above an island. They encountered the other party's dark cloud, from which a female Asura emerged. She was an old woman, seemingly in her 70s, exuding a delightful fragrance. Her white hair was meticulously combed, and her face was clean and tidy, giving off an air of elegant propriety. Fang Chen glanced at her, then back at the tattered Ming Yi, and couldn't help but mutter, you're both descendants of the Asura Clan. How did your Black Cloud stronghold end up looking like refugees from the Heaven Realm? Ming Yi said with a hint of envy, 100 years ago, they discovered a secret domain left behind by the Hell Expeditionary Force. The resources their clan possesses are beyond what any of the other strongholds can compare to. He looked at the elegant old woman and the shadowy cloud behind her that was clearly hiding people. Zhu Xiang, he said, you rarely leave your stronghold. What brings you out today? Zhu Xiang waved a hand in front of her nose in disgust. Don't speak. The sour stench of your Black Cloud stronghold is as foul as ever. You, a vein, throbbed on Ming Yi's forehead. Zhu Xiang's ancient eyes shifted, sweeping over Vajraphayan. She waved her hand in front of her nose again. To smell the aura of a Buddhist in this lifetime, how rare. Though it is rather unpleasant. For hellish beings, the sacred power of the Buddhist path was, without a doubt, the most repulsive thing imaginable. Then Zhu Xiang turned to Fang Chen and sniffed the air lightly. You, on the other hand, I don't find your scent repulsive, but I can't say I like it either. Fang Chen rolled his eyes at her, like I need an old crone's approval. Zhu Xiang's gaze finally settled on Baeksin, her eyes filled with a look of desire. This girl, She has a scent that our fragrance, consuming lineage finds irresistible. If only I could have just one taste. She extended a finger, using Yin Kai to clumsily trace a few characters of the human race. Her writing looked childish, as if she had only recently learned. Girl, let me take you to the Black Sun Royal Court to gather intelligence. My skills are far more useful than this old fool Ming Yi's. Her ability to discern the auras of all things allowed her to detect the presence of the ancient giants from a great distance, making it easy to pinpoint their location. Fang Chen's expression grew thoughtful. As hellish beings, shouldn't they be drawn to sense of darkness and shadow? Baeksin was practically a beacon of righteous energy, so where would any dark aura be coming from? Baeksin refused without a second thought. Mingyi couldn't help but let out a hoarse laugh. Too bad. You can't poach a friend of the Black Cloud's stronghold. Zhu Xiang shot him a disgusted glare. As if you're the only one with friends from the Central Plains. With a flick of her sleeve, the shadowy cloud behind her dissipated, revealing a dozen martial artists from the Central Plains. The one leading them was none other than Zong Chaosheng. A look of shocked suspicion crossed his face as he stared at Fang Chen. What are you doing here? He frowned. And how did you manage to connect with the Asura Clan? The reason he'd been able to connect with Yang's stronghold was because he knew a little of the Hell Realm's language. Over the years, the Godspeed sect had excavated all sorts of strange things, and they had once unearthed a partial translation of the Hell Realm script. Though it wasn't much, it was enough for basic communication, and by combining it with hand gestures, he had managed to strike a deal with Yang's stronghold. Zhu Xiang would lead them to the Black Sun Royal Court to uncover the ultimate intelligence, and in return, he had promised to bring the people of Yang's stronghold back to the Central Land Realm. So how had Fang Chen managed it? Fang Chen was also surprised that Zong Chaosheng had found help from the Asura Clan. With the language barrier, how could they have possibly formed a partnership? Don't tell me Zong Chaosheng knows the Hell Realm's language, too. If so, he had really underestimated Zong Chaosheng. After all, he himself had gone to great lengths to pry the Hell Realm's language out of Hua Xin. Hearing the hostility in Zong Chaosheng's tone, Fang Chen's own attitude soured. If you can pull it off, there's no reason I can't, is there? Zong Chaosheng's frown deepened. It didn't matter how Fang Chen had connected with the Asura Clan. Having a native guide meant he now had a chance to infiltrate the Black Sun Royal Court and scout for information. For the same piece of intelligence, credit would go to whoever scouted it accurately first. He had to find a way to slow Fang Chen's group down. An idea sparked in his mind. He immediately began speaking to Zhu Xiang, repeating himself several times in his broken Hell Realm tongue, and using frantic hand gestures, before she finally understood what he meant. You're saying you want to use a dirty trick to trap him. What do you have in mind? After another laborious exchange, Zong Chaosheng gestured openly, unafraid of Fang Chen finding out. After all, the guy couldn't understand a word they were saying anyway. Stronghold's Master Ming Yi, on the other hand, understood everything, but Zong Chaosheng doubted he'd be able to stop them. This Fang Chen is a greedy bastard, senior. Just pretend to gift him a bewildering fragrance bead. I guarantee he won't refuse it. The moment his hand touches it, the bewildering fragrance bead will activate and knock him unconscious on the spot. As for how Zong Chaosheng knew this, it was the exact same trick they had fallen for before being captured and dragged back to Yang's stronghold. Even a 7-aperture Nascent Soul couldn't resist its stunning effect, let alone someone like Fang Chen. After hearing it several times, Zhu Xiang finally understood Zong Chaosheng's meaning, though she seemed a bit hesitant. The bewildering fragrance bead wasn't something to be given away lightly. But considering her partnership with Zong Chaosheng, she reluctantly took out a blood-red bead and held it out to Fang Chen. For you, young man. Worried that Fang Chen wouldn't understand, she even put on a benevolent smile. What puzzled her, though, was Ming Yi. She had assumed he'd understood the plan, and would rush over to interfere. But instead, Ming Yi just stood in the distance, with his arms crossed, struggling to hold back a laugh. He looked like he was settling in to watch a show, which left Zhu Xiang completely bewildered. That is, until Fang Chen, with lightning speed, whipped out a jade box, snatched the bewildering fragrance bead from her palm, snapped the lid shut, and tossed it into his spatial storage artifact in a single, fluid motion. Only then did a grin spread across his face. Using flawless local tongue, he chuckled. Knocks you out with a single touch. Now this is a real treasure. But next time you plan to scheme against me, do me a favor and don't do it right in front of my face. Plotting my downfall while I'm standing right here. It's making things really awkward for me. Zhu Xiang's ancient face flushed red. You speak the local tongue, she stammered in shock. Fang Chen's command of the language was authentic, at least 10 times better than Zong Chaosheng's. The realization that she had just conspired against him, right to his face, made Zhu Xiang's cheeks burn with shame. At the side, Ming Yi couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. Stronghold Master Zhu Xiang, are you so embarrassed you wish the ground would swallow you whole? You actually tried to scheme against young friend Fang. The stone giant king himself was scammed so badly by him, he was left cursing his own mother. And you tried to plot against him while he was listening. I'm going to be laughing about this for 100 years. Ha ha ha. Zhu Xiang's face was burning with a mixture of fury and humiliation. She shot Fang Chen a savage look. You speak the local tongue. Why the hell didn't you say something sooner? Fang Chen simply shrugged. You never asked. Zhu Xiang was too embarrassed to stay a second longer. With a sharp flick of her wrist, she whipped up a vortex of Yin Kai to carry the group away. Fine. Let's see who makes it to the Black Sun Royal Court first, she barked. She was determined to get the ultimate clapback today. Even if it wasn't for her deal with Zong Chaosheng, she had to wipe the floor with that little brat Fang Chen until he was the one screaming in frustration. Ming Yi didn't waste a second conjuring a massive dark cloud, the old hag's losing her mind. He grunted. We need to move fast. Fang Chen and the others hopped onto the cloud immediately. No matter how fast they were on foot, they couldn't hope to match the raw speed of a 9-aperture Asura. 2 sonic booms echoed across the sky as both parties streaked toward the Black Sun Royal Court. Zhu Xiang and Ming, you were evenly matched in power and speed. It had turned into a brutal game of endurance. Zhu Xiang sneered over her shoulder. Stronghold Master Ming Yi, pushing this hard, you're going to burn through every scrap of Yin Kai in your gut. Slow down, look at you, even a stick insect looks well fed next to you. Ming Yi snapped back. That's a low blow, you old hag. Like you're some kind of tycoon. Your stronghold has already bled that secret realm dry. I bet your reserves are running on fumes. Zhu Xiang gave a cold laugh. Fumes or not, it's enough to leave you in the dust. Stay back there and choke on it. Then she glared at Fang Chen. And you brat, when you start crying later, make sure you do it loud enough for me to hear. Fang Chen shook his head. Don't count on it. He pulled out a long, thick, jet-black radish and tossed it to Ming Yi. Forget the cost. Keep pushing. I've got the Yin Kai covered. Ming Yi's eyes lit up with renewed confidence. With an endless supply of Yin Kai vegetables, what did he have to fear? Zhu Xiang's sharp nose immediately caught an aroma that no member of the Asura Clan in the infernal realm could resist. She whipped her head around, her old eyes flashing with shock. A hell vegetable from my home realm. Kid, where did you get that? Sell it to me. Fang Chen nodded, but before she could celebrate, he added, sure, let's see you cry for it first. Zhu Xiang gnashed her teeth, glaring at him with pure venom. The elegant composure she'd maintained for years was rapidly going out the window. Fang Chen continued, or you could just dump Zong Chaosheng. I'd be happy to sell to you then. Zhu Xiang scoffed. I have principles. You can't buy me that easily. Then she immediately turned to the man beside her. Young Master Zong, do you think you could? Jump off here. Veins popped on Zong Chaosheng's forehead as he clenched his fists. Fang Chen, he roared. He quickly turned back to her. Senior, don't you dare forget our deal. Zhu Xiang sighed as reality set in. Once the Wonks, Yang's stronghold reached the Central Plains, they would need the protection of a powerful sect. She forced herself to resist the temptation of the radish and kept moving. The chase lasted for 2 days. As they neared the Black Sun Royal Court, Zhu Xiang's Yin Kai finally ran dry. Ming Yi surged past her, leaving her far behind in his wake. Seeing his lead vanish, Zong Chaosheng hissed through gritted teeth. Fang Chen, do you have to steal everything from me? Zhu Xiang looked apologetic for a moment, but then her expression shifted as she caught a scent. Young Master Zong, you won't be getting any intel from the Black Sun Royal Court today. But how about I take you to find that deity transformation corpse instead? Zong Chaosheng's fury vanished instantly. It's actually still there. His primary goal for this scouting mission was the top prize, a high-grade spirit tool. But if he brought back a corpse from the deity transformation realm, it would be worth far more than any high-grade spirit tool. Why bother with a suicide scouting mission? He was ecstatic. Excellent. Let that arrogant prick handle the grunt work. Take me to the deity transformation corpse now. In the distance, Ming Yi noticed Zhu Xiang changing course. He narrowed his eyes. My friend, they're going after that deity transformation corpse. Should we snatch it first before heading to the royal court? A sharp light flickered in Fang Chen's eyes. I wouldn't advise it. There's nothing worth taking there. He hadn't forgotten the dying words of those 9-aperture giants. The ancient giants had known they were coming all along. If that were the case, would the ancient giants really just let warriors from the Central Plains walk away with something as precious as a deity transformation corpse? There was bound to be an ambush near that deity transformation corpse, waiting for anyone from the Central Plains to walk straight into the trap. I just hope they don't run into a giant they can't run away from, Fang Chen muttered to himself. Shortly after, they reached a massive island near the Black Sun Royal Court. The island had once been lush with ancient, towering trees, but it was now shrouded in rolling clouds of black yin kai that had extinguished all life. "We're here." Zhu Xiang took a deep breath, scanning the area for miles. She looked relieved. There was no trace of the ancient giants nearby. It was safe. She was the first to land. With a sweep of her sleeve, she tore a path through the black yin kai, leading straight to the island's center. A massive corpse came into view, radiating constant waves of black yin kai. It wore a bronze mask and black chainmail armor. Its exposed skin was the color of weathered bronze, with bulging muscles that looked like they were carved from stone. Just looking at it radiated an aura of pure, unbridled ferocity. Even Zhu Xiang felt a chill. A perfect god, slaying weapon, she whispered. If awakened, it would be every bit as terrifying as the giant king himself. Even for a nine-aperture Asura like her, facing this motionless corpse filled her with a deep, visceral dread. Zong Chaosheng's eyes blazed with greed. The deity transformation corpse, it's finally here. Once we bring it back, imagine the rewards Venerable Evil Crow will heap upon us. Overcome with excitement, he rushed through the tunnel to the deity transformation corpse and produced the black coffin, activating it without a second's delay. The deity transformation corpse resisted for a heartbeat, but it was no match for the black coffin's pull and was sucked inside. Ha ha ha, it's mine. As the lid snapped shut, Zong Chaosheng broke into a manic, triumphant laugh. Fang Chen risked everything to infiltrate the Black Sun Royal Court, and here I am, claiming the deity transformation corpse without breaking a sweat. If he finds out, he'll probably slap himself senseless. Zhu Xiang nodded slightly, satisfied that this was a fair trade for Zong Chaosheng. Her mission was done. Suddenly, she caught a scent, and her expression shifted. Wait, where did this ancient giant's aura come from? It wasn't here just a moment ago. Her pupils narrowed to pinpricks. The warriors around her stood frozen, staring behind Zong Chaosheng with looks of sheer horror. The world suddenly went dark for Zong Chaosheng. A massive shadow loomed over him, casting an oppressive, primal weight on his shoulders from behind. His heart skipped a beat as he forced his neck to turn and look behind him. Where there had been nothing but empty air, a 200-foot full giant now stood, arms crossed, looking down at him with a mocking, predatory smirk. A source star flickered on the giant's forehead, the Giant King. Zong Chaosheng's heart nearly stopped from the sheer terror. Zong Chaosheng is absolutely cooked. This man fumbled every single play this arc. He lost his trump card ally, botched the stealth mission, and got clowned on trying to pull a fast one on Fang Chen, who was listening the whole time. Bro thought he was the main character, ditching the mission for a legendary side quest, only to walk face first into the most obvious ambush in history. This isn't just bad luck, it's a masterclass in cosmic karma. Zong Chaosheng is a walking disaster, but he's one of their few high-level fighters. By letting him get baited into a known trap, is Fang Chen just ruthlessly pruning a weak link for the greater good? Or has he officially decided that saving his rivals isn't worth the effort?